Chapter 902. Spin-off 356. The Mysterious Apartment of Gods. Shiqingji family _2 Su Nanjing answered him, Dean Huang, you should head to Building 6. Principal Shi and Dean Jian are also there, and you might still be able to get it approved. Dean Huang felt a sudden tightness in his heart. Dean Jian of Jianghu? Could he still be harboring designs on by Lian? Is Building 5 sold out? Dean Huang's heart tensed, and in a couple of days, he would need to mention to Shanyu that he shouldn't let Dean Jian lead people astray. Su Nanjing fell silent for a moment. Dean Huang looked up, having visited Building 5 many times himself. It wasn't to see Bai Lian or Ning Xiao, it was to see Yang Lin. Besides them, there were hardly any other comings and goings in that building. There should still be many empty rooms. Almost, Su Nanjing replied. The rest are in Jianghu's hands, you know who owns this property. Dean Huang. This damn rich man. This year, the Lunar New Year in Xianxia was livelier than ever. The number of people from out of town who came to Xianxia for the New Year had doubled from last year. Not only that, the number of people coming from elsewhere to settle in Xianxia was gradually increasing. And at the Jianghu's courtyard, on New Year's Eve, the atmosphere was exceptionally lively. Ning Xiao, Yang Lin, Mao Kuan, Xiaoqi, and Xiao Wu were all there, with Ji Xiaojun and Xin Qing acting as the main chefs, while Ning Xiao, Yang Lin, and Mao Kuan served as their sous-chefs. Jianghu was outside playing Go with Jianghu. Zhang Fulai, meanwhile, was affixing couplets at the entrance of the courtyard under Bai Lian's direction. He had a tall and straight figure with distinct features, using his height to his advantage. He tilted his body to align with the couplets, his brows, like the cool moon lowering slightly as he methodically asked Bai Lian, who stood 2 meters away, how about this height? Bai Lian, dressed in a green gown, casually clasped her hands, standing on the blue stone path of the alley, a little lower on the left, move a little more to the left. Occasionally, tourists who went to Purist Street to worship the tree god got lost and wandered into the alley where fireworks and human life intertwined. In the lingering twilight, they only saw a pair of godly lovers, delicate in features and seemingly not of this world, affixing couplets. For a moment, the travelers thought they had entered another dimension. They only came to their senses when the woman in the green gown turned around. Hearing that the travelers were lost, Bai Lian smiled and pointed to the black lamppost at their side. Follow the lampposts of this color, and you'll reach Purist Street. The travelers looked up and finally noticed the black lampposts behind them, different from the silver railing lampposts at other directions of the crossroads. Following the black lampposts, they indeed quickly arrived at the main avenue of Purist Street. The travelers, looking at the crowded throng outside, felt suddenly bewildered, as though they had just experienced a fabled land of peace, and involuntarily took another glance back. At the Ren family. Usually boisterous, this year it was exceptionally quiet. I asked already, he's spending New Year's with his grandfather. Ren Zhouwei entered the living room and saw Ren Qian, who had aged several more years, standing before the floor-to-ceiling windows. He's not coming back. She was talking about Xiaoqi. Ren Qian remained silent, showing little emotion towards what Ren Zhouwei said. This proud man had spent his entire life, but now he was stuck in a dead end. He resented Zhou Jian, but couldn't bring himself to be close to Xiaoqi, his grandson who hadn't even finished junior high, nor could he face the fact that his granddaughter, whom he had raised by hand, had long known that she was not his biological kin. Is he continuing his studies? Outside the front gates, an elderly lady with a walking stick came in. Ren Zhouwei treated the old lady with great politeness. Granny, as for him, it depends on his own wishes. Xiaorong and I have no right to control him. This lady was Ren Qian's sister, Ren Zhouwei's grandaunt. Ren Zhouwei had always called her granny out of respect as a junior family member. The Ren family granny shook her head. But she didn't speak in front of Ren Zhouwei, only waiting until Ren Zhouwei walked away with a bag before she spoke to Ren Qian. I think you should really think it through, this can't go on like this. That, she paused, momentarily forgetting Xiaoqi's name. He can't be a delinquent for life, it would be better than. She stopped herself, realizing it wasn't appropriate to bring up Ren Wanxian given the circumstances. She didn't mention it further. After the new year, Xiaoqi needed to verify the matters of the Xianxia suspended health clinic. Jianghu was going to Shiqing. Bai Lian usually didn't inquire much into Jianghu's private affairs, but Zhang Fulai asked him a couple more questions. Standing behind Bai Lian, watching Zhang He and Pu Xiaohan play chess, he remembered something. The main base for seawater uranium extraction is in Xiqing. You and Ning Xiao also need to go over there. You still have to hand things over to Shida University. A confidential project. Bai Lian's hand slowly twirled her phone. Let's send a report that will go with Grandpa. She and Ning Xiao just happened to need to collect some data as well. Jianghu Lai watched as Pu Xiaohan placed a white piece and, unable to bear looking directly, averted his gaze. Okay, I'll arrange it. Xiqing. A city close to the sea, with distinct seasons. The old district of the weaving factory, quaint and charming. In the manor house of the old city district, people in black clothes reported to the individuals in the tea room. Eldest lady, second master, second lady. The eldest son-in-law arrived at the airport at 1 o'clock. Holding Buddha beads, Ji family's second master remembered who the eldest son-in-law was and his expression turned cold. The Ji family's eldest lady set down her teacup and stood up. Have someone clean up Wangxin's room again. The Ji family's second lady looked puzzled at the second master. She married late and had never met Ji Wanxin, only having heard of this talented woman. Beside them, a young man also looked towards the second master. Grandfather, who is the eldest son-in-law? Your Aunt Wanxin, Ji family's second master said in silence, moved to Xianxia after marrying a man from another place. He picked up his coat and headed out the door. The second lady watched his retreating figure. Aren't you waiting for the eldest son-in-law? Ji family's second master didn't speak, and just left. Well then, Grandma, the young man also left. I'm heading out too. There's an alumni association today, and I heard Master Pei is also attending. I'll go have a look. The second lady waved her hand, signaling him to go. Xiqing Airport. The Ji family's chauffeur was waiting for Ji Hang. Ji Hang was still dressed in an old-fashioned robe, holding a big smoking pipe, and was exceptionally silent. He didn't bring any luggage. Jianghu Lai was still inside the VIP room, communicating with people on the Xiqing side. His and Bai Lian's arrival took the people from Shida University and the seawater base by surprise. Bai Lian accompanied Ji Hang to the drop-off point. The airport was crowded, and not far behind her, an undercover security officer who had been waiting at the airport followed. Eldest son-in-law, the Ji family's driver confirmed Ji Hang's identity over the phone, very polite, and his gaze then fell on Bai Lian at his side. And this lady is? Wearing a blue trench coat, Bai Lian seemed like a hazy blue moon in the sky. Peaceful and casual. She made the surrounding scenery seem like mere background. Granddaughter, Ji Hang waved his hand, signaling Bai Lian to go back. No worries, well go ahead. Ji Hang's granddaughter? The Ji family's driver sat puzzled in the driver's seat. Eldest son-in-law, isn't your granddaughter coming along? Ji Hang was silent for a moment. He didn't know what Bai Lian was up to, but he knew she had official business today. The guards had been waiting for her and Jianghu Lai in the waiting room since they landed. He imagined Bai Lian with 2 guards visiting the Ji family. The thought was too beautiful. She has things to do. Ji Hang settled into his seat. Forget it. The identities of these kids were special now, and meeting them wasn't as easy as it used to be. Behind him, Bai Lian watched Ji Hang's car leave, noting down the license plate number. On her way back, she received a call. It was Wang Su. It seemed noisy on his end, and he found a quieter place. The prefix was a bit long. Goddess of Fortune, I heard from Pei Su that Ning the genius told him you guys are in Xiqing? How come you're on our turf without telling me? Where are you guys now? Chapter 903, Outtake 357-2. The big shot comes to Xiqing. A gift. Pei Qin and Wang Su were both from Xiqing. Both of them kept a low profile at Jianghu University, but their families were influential in Xiqing. Wang Zu's family was well educated. His uncle worked at the Jiangjing Research Institute, and his grandfather was the chancellor of Xiqing University. His grandmother was a professor at Jianghu University, and his enrollment in the physics department there was entirely due to family reasons. As for the Pei family, that went without saying. As soon as Ning Xiao mentioned that Bai Lian and her group had arrived in Xiqing, they couldn't sit still. Wang Su left behind the young gentry of the Xiqing circle and stepped outside to call Bai Lian. Airport, Bai Lian replied to him. You and Pei Qin find some time in the next 2 days. Now that he was in Xiqing, Bai Lian also planned to take the 2 of them to the base for a visit. Upon hearing Bai Lian's words, Wang Su became excited. Good. He hung up the phone and returned to the private room. A group of people gathered together, greeting him with laughter. Brother Su. Wang Su smiled at them, and as he looked up, he saw Pei Qin, almost surrounded and seated in the center, on a single sofa. Despite the dim lighting of the spacious private room, Pei Qin, dressed in casual knitwear, legs crossed, holding a glass of red wine, exuded a sense of authority that seemed to seep out from every fiber of his being, even in casual attire. He was speaking to a young man on the sofa to his left. In an official tone. "Zhua Jr., Wang Su greeted the young man, then leaned against the coffee table behind him, gesturing with his hand for someone nearby to pour him a glass of wine. "You're right. Sister Lian and her group have really arrived. Get ready, free up the next 2 days." "What? Tomorrow?" Pei Qin, who had just been conversing in a tone of official propriety, sat upright with keen eyes. Wang Su took the glass of wine, thanked the woman, and raised his eyebrows. Pei Qin took out his phone, texted Ning Xiao, and then gestured to Wang Su, "Let's talk outside." "I was asking Sister Lian," Wang Su noticed Ning Xiao's profile picture, shrugged. "I really don't know how you communicate with Ning the scholar." Wang Su always felt that Bai Lian was the most approachable person, but as for the cold Ning Xiao, he found him too distant. Pei Qin gave him a glance. Ning Xiao was demonstrative with emotions, which compared to Bai Lian's inscrutability, even if she smiled at you, you couldn't guess what she was thinking, was truly frightening. He couldn't be bothered to explain to Wang Su. They stepped out. The rest exchanged glances, and someone braver asked, "Brother Zhua, what are Wang and Pei discussing? Who is Sister Lian?" They did not know the Lian. Upon reflection, there were no girls in their circle with that name. Additionally, there were few peers in Xiqing who could make Pei Qin and Wang Su address them as sister. Zhua Yang took out a cigarette, and someone immediately lit it for him. He slowly blew out a ring of smoke and pondered. The person in question is probably not from Xiqing. Everyone present could detect the respect in Pei Qin and Wang Zu's tones when they mentioned Ning the scholar and Sister Lian. Ji Yun listened quietly to the conversation among the others. Not until Wang Su and Pei Qin returned did everyone notice the joy on their faces. A happiness even Pei Qin, who was always composed, could not conceal. At night, at the Ji family. When Ji Yun returned, the Ji family's eldest grandma was still in the hall. He burst in, coat still on. "Eldest grandma, do you know who arrived in Xiqing from our side?" He was tugging at his coat when he stopped mid-sentence. He noticed an elderly man in a gray robe seated next to the eldest grandma. Someone Ji Yun had never seen before. Ji Yun realized this must be the great uncle he had heard about from his grandparents. He swallowed the words at the tip of his tongue, reined in his impulsive character, and politely greeted him. "This is Ji Yun," the eldest grandma, now old, doted on Ji Wanxin, the family's only daughter back then. When Ji Wanxin died abroad, Ji Hang did not bring back her ashes, which the eldest grandma resented for many years. Now she had become much more serene and introduced Ji Yun to Ji Hang, the eldest grandson of the second son's family. While introducing Ji Yun, the eldest grandma also briefed Ji Hang on the members of several branches of the family, ending with, "And there's Alung. Ji Lang and his fiancée are discussing business and haven't returned yet." Ji Yun's second uncle became annoyed. He was the one most attached to Ji Wanxin as a child. When Ji Hang took Ji Wanxin away from Xiqing and she died without him seeing her one last time. This time Ji Hang came back, and he did not show Ji Hang kind eyes, even though Ji Hang was extremely respectful towards him and the eldest grandma. He put down his teacup and took Ji Yun away. Watching them leave, Ji Yun also excused himself from the eldest grandma and followed. Chapter 904, Spin-off 357 Episode 2. A VIP comes to Xiqing, bringing gifts under the two. As the two of them stepped out of the courtyard, Ji Yun finally spoke. "Grandfather, I went to Brother Zhua's today and saw the person from the Pei family and the Wang family. It seems like a high-profile individual has arrived in Xiqing today." As for how significant, Ji Yun didn't know. The second elder of the Ji family paused his steps, tilting his head to look at Ji Yun, a thought crossing his mind. Is it the business deal that Ji Lang and the rest were talking about? Ji Lang was from the third branch, and although the Ji family's weaving and textile business wasn't as booming as before, it was still recognized as an intangible cultural heritage, with an unrivaled cultural depth. The family might not be extremely wealthy, but their heritage was undoubtedly rich. For many years, it had been managed by the eldest grandmother. In recent years, however, she had shown intentions of letting go. Ji Lang and Ji Yun had been openly and secretly contending for control, and recently, Ji Lang seemed to be in contact with a group regarding a business deal. It was not a huge deal, but the other party seemed to have quite an influential background. The Ji family's second elder also wished to get involved but, unfortunately, couldn't find the connections. He didn't even know who was looking to order what type of clothing from the Ji family. Uncle Meng from the eldest grandmother's side escorted Ji Hung back to Ji Wangxin's former room. Miss Wangxin's room has always been kept, he said as he opened the door, showing Ji Hung the well-maintained but antiquated facilities inside. The pearwood couch was impeccable. You'll stay here tonight. Ji Hung stood outside the door, feeling as if everything was surreal after 40 years, clutching his smoking pipe, his voice deep. Thank you. Uncle Meng glanced at Ji Hung, then closed the door and left. Ji Hung stood still for a long time, then step by step, he moved to the couch, running his fingers over the mahogany, his hands withered, and gradually sat down on the couch without saying a word for a long time. Meanwhile, at the eldest grandmother of the Ji family's place. After Uncle Meng returned, the eldest grandmother's parlor was now occupied by a young couple. The eldest grandmother was speaking to the young woman with a gentle voice and a smiling face, clearly pleased with the pair. Uncle Meng also bowed, respectfully greeting, "Second young master, Miss N." "Uncle Meng, where have you come from?" Ji Lang asked with a smile. "From your aunt's husband, that is, your grandmother's husband from her side of the family," the eldest grandmother sighed. "After 40 years, he has finally returned." "Aunt's husband?" Ji Lang and his fiancée looked at each other, surprised. They had never heard of him. It was only when Uncle Meng was escorting them out that Ji Lang cautiously inquired about his grandmother's husband. Uncle Meng mentioned only a few details. Having been out of touch for many years, what he knew came out of Ji Hang's own mouth today. "He's been living in Xianxia all along, no wonder we never received any news from them. I heard there's also a grandson and a granddaughter from outside the family." It was only in the past 2 years that Xianxia started to develop. A grandson and a granddaughter from outside the family? Ji Lang's eyes narrowed slightly, inconspicuously asking for more details. "I heard his granddaughter came with him to Xiqing and is currently at a friend's house. She didn't return with him." Beyond that, Uncle Meng was not sure. Ji Lang made a mental note of the matter. After Uncle Meng had escorted them to the door and left, Miss N beside Ji Lang spoke up. "Cloud brocade phoenix robe, this matter still requires your eldest grandmother to take action." The two of them quickly put the matter concerning Ji Hang out of their minds. "I know," Ji Lang was aware of the importance of the issue. "We can't let Ji Yun and the others find out about this." Ji Yun went to the Zhua family's gathering today. Miss N adjusted her dark green coat. "I heard a high-profile individual is expected in our Xiqing. Do you think it might be that butler?" After the Zhua family's gathering dispersed, the attitudes of Wang Su and Pei Qin were no longer a secret. "Impossible," Ji Lang shook his head, intoning solemnly. "You should know to whom that butler belongs. How could the Wang family and the Pei family possibly be related to them?" Nevertheless, he would have to investigate who those two families were referring to. The next day, in the northern part of Xiqing, a lane was exclusively separated from a coastal area. Wang Su drove his flashy amber sports car, looking up when he reached the grand entrance with barriers on both sides, and the solemn and serious words, "Seawater Purification Scientific Research Base," emblazoned above. He fell silent for a moment, scratching his head and asking Pei Qin beside him, "Did I pick the wrong car to drive today?" Bai Lian had sent the location directly to the two of them, but since the research base had only recently been built, it wasn't displayed on satellite images. When Wang Su first clicked on it, he thought this place was just a deserted beach. He chose a car suitable for the beach, but who could have guessed upon arrival that it would be a research base? Driving such a flashy car here, Wang Su felt like he was committing a crime. Sheepishly getting out of the driver's seat, he called Bai Lian. Seeing that Wang Su was calling Bai Lian again, Pei Qin opened her mouth, seeming to want to say something, but in the end, she remained silent. Chapter 905, Extra Story 357 Part 2. The VIP visiting Xiqing, gifting _3 Jingjing waited at the door. 3 minutes later, a slender figure emerged, dressed in a black trench coat, with one hand tucked into his coat pocket, standing a few meters away, calmly looking at them. Wang Su and Pei Qin suddenly felt a tingle on their scalps. Both of them stood up straight and obediently greeted, "Mr. Jiang." "Come in," Jiang Fulai said indifferently, turning around. Bai Lian and Ning Xiao were examining machines, both wearing white lab coats. walking in the operation room under the silver dome where some machines were running. Wang Su and Pei Qin wore temporary badges and looked around in amazement. The group spent the entire day there with Bai Lian and Ning Xiao calculating data and occasionally asking Wang Su and Pei Qin questions about the model. It wasn't until evening, after Bai Lian took a phone call, that the group finally left. Ning Xiao continued to stay for research while Bai Lian was off to see the medicinal herb producers in Xiqing where Xiaoqi had earned his first batch of capital. She was in Xiqing with Jianghu Lai, driven by a security guard from Xiqing. 2 security guards followed them from start to finish, never too far or too close. After reporting his data, Xian Kong presented Bai Lian with items transported over from Xiangqing. "Miss Bai, these are for you, sent by Mr. Xiaoqi." They were several gift boxes prepared by Jianghu for the Ji family. The 2 security guards behind Bai Lian neatly took them all. After seeing Bai Lian and her party off and ensuring they had left, the bodyguard next to him asked the Xiqing manager of Xian Kong, puzzled, "Is Miss Bai really one of ours from Xian Kong?" "Of course," replied the Xian Kong manager. "Manager, let's renew our contract for another 10 years, the bodyguard said, visibly more spirited. "Manager. You weren't this easy to talk to when I hired you." Ordinary people wouldn't notice, but as a former soldier, the bodyguard could tell that the 2 men who followed Bai Lian had bulges at their waists, most likely guns. These days, those who dare to carry guns on the street. The Ji family. Jianghu sat beneath the willow tree next to Ji Wangxin's room, quietly looking at the emerald green stone pond. Until Bai Lian's call came through, telling him the gifts had arrived. Back in Xiqing, Jianghu had prepared New Year gifts for his grandmother and the others in the family. Some tobacco bought from Lishang, and some special products from Xiangqing. Since the tobacco hadn't arrived yesterday, Xiaoqi had mentioned that it would be convenient to bring it along with the Xian Kong delivery today. Jianghu was not yet ready for Bai Lian to visit the Ji family. After all, her situation was quite special. He went to greet his grandmother and mentioned that he had to take care of some matters outside. "It's that old butler," Ji Lang said something quietly to the grandmother, and upon seeing Jianghu approach, he lowered his eyes and quickly changed the subject. Knowing they deliberately shifted the topic, Jianghu didn't mind. He just told his grandmother that he needed to go out. The grandmother didn't stop him. "You haven't been back to Xiqing for a long time, and Xiqing has changed a lot. Let old Meng accompany you out. Uncle Meng could drive. And take Jianghu to meet Bai Lian." On the road, Jianghu received a call from Ran Qian. Ran Qian wanted to give Jianghu his New Year greeting since they hadn't met in person. Just a phone call for the New Year wishes. After the call, he casually mentioned Xiaoqi. The 2 then discussed going back to school for a bit longer. Jianghu had no objections to Xiaoqi's decision not to continue junior high school. Ran Qian, even if unconcerned about Xiaoqi, was somewhat annoyed at Jianghu's indulgence. After the call ended, Uncle Meng looked at the back seat in astonishment. "Talking about your grandson? Is he going to school, junior high? He can attend school in Xiqing. You don't have to worry about the school registration, with young Master Lang and Miss In here." "No need," Jianghu hung up the phone and shook his head. "He's 18 now. Going back to junior high isn't right." "What? 18? Uncle Meng was taken aback. He had thought that Jianghu's grandson was around the age of 13 or 14, appropriate for attending junior high school. He hadn't anticipated that at 18, there was still a dilemma about going to junior high. He had intended to ask Jianghu about his granddaughter as well but now didn't dare to ask. It wasn't long before they arrived at the tea house on Old Street. Uncle Meng parked the car, followed Jianghu out and looked around at the ancient charm of Old Street. "Which place are you looking for, sir?" "Alien." Jianghu took up his pipe, headed in a certain direction. "My granddaughter." His granddaughter? Uncle Meng looked surprised for a moment and followed. Chapter 906. Extra 358-3. A meeting, Grandpa's demeanor. It was still January, and the Old Street was crowded. The tea house was at the end of the road, a solitary courtyard all by itself. Meng Shu had heard about this tea room. The person backing it was no minor figure, and it only entertained a limited number of guests each day, in a quiet atmosphere. The first time Meng Shu came here, as soon as he pushed the door open and entered, he saw the lacquered wooden square tables in the hall, and several old men speaking in low voices in the courtyard. Once the courtyard door closed again, it shut out the noise from the outside. Following the carved wooden staircase next to him, he went up to the private rooms on the upper floor. Jianghu gave the number of the private room, and someone led him towards the back. The room was at the very end of the second floor. Outside the room stood two men in black casual wear, their eyes sharp and imposing, looking rather formidable. They weren't Jiangjing's guards, and Jianghu didn't recognize them. He stopped, just about to clarify his identity to the two guards. The man on the left then lifted the bamboo curtain, letting Jianghu in. Meng Shu was surprised to see the two men standing outside the private room, noting that they seemed to be bodyguards. He stayed outside, but in the instant the curtain was lifted, he thought he caught sight of two people sitting at the wooden square table. Inside the private room, the environment was somewhat enclosed. Bai Lian sat leisurely by the window, watching the small bridge and flowing water below. A small boat drifted slowly under the arch bridge, with red lanterns hanging on both sides of the bank, flanking a cobbled path and white walls topped with green tiles. A scene like a tranquil ink painting, subdued and serene. She withdrew her gaze, crossing her arms as she assessed Jianghu's mental state, noting he seemed quite relaxed recently. It seemed the Ji family held significant emotional value for him. Jiang Fulai picked up the teapot to pour tea for Jianghu sitting opposite, the fragrance of tea enveloping them. Next to it was the gift box Jianghu had requested. Jianghu picked up his teacup, slowly sipping from it as he spoke to the two. It would be enough to have someone send it over to me. Jiang Fulai set down the teapot leisurely, drawling, "No rush, we're on a break for the next couple of days." Meng Shu was still waiting outside, and without lingering, Jianghu finished the pot of tea and left with a bunch of gift boxes. Jiang Fulai bowed slightly, lifting the curtain to see him out. He said his goodbyes to Jianghu in a low voice. With cold and downcast eyes, he spoke lazily with emphasis, exuding an air of distinguished pride. Meng Shu instinctively lowered his gaze, inwardly startled. If Jianghu was his granddaughter, who then was this person with such an extraordinary presence? After leaving the tea house, Meng Shu stepped out of the small courtyard and back into the bustling street. "Young Master Ji," Meng Shu said, looking at the boxes in Jianghu's hands. "Let me help you with those." Back door of the tea house. An official car slowly stopped at the entrance. A middle-aged man hurried down and walked briskly inside. "Pei Qin really should have told me about such an important matter earlier." He straightened his suit as he walked in. Upon reaching the second floor, seeing the two guards at the door, he took a deep breath and adjusted his clothes. The two guards clearly recognized the middle-aged man and nodded slightly, greeting him, "Mr. Pei." Pei Qin's father nodded politely back at them before reaching out to lift the curtain and go in. "Miss Bai, hello." He was Pei Qin's father and also the man behind the tea house. Pei Qin had just called him to inform him that Bai Lian was at the tea house. "I am Pei Yuanfu, Pei Qin's father." "Hello." Bai Lian stood up and shook hands with Pei Qin's father. Meanwhile, Jiang Fulai was on the phone with the butler, giving Pei Qin's father a slight nod as a greeting. Pei Qin's father felt a tightness in his heart and dared not look further. He quietly thanked Bai Lian. Not only had Bai Lian looked after Pei Qin and other members from Xianxia after college, but during the senior year training camp, Pei Qin's father had heard from his son about this promising candidate. And now it went without saying, with Ziqing's largest scientific research project of the past decade, Bai Lian was also one of the initiators. Remembering Pei Qin's reminder, Pei Yuanfu dared not engage in too much conversation with Bai Lian and the other. After a few quiet words, he turned to leave. Jiang Fulai swirled his teacup, inquiring politely, "Do you not have any of the old Banzhong tea?" Pei Yuanfu owned the tea house and was an enthusiast of tea culture. Naturally, he had vast knowledge about tea. Hearing Jiang Fulai mentioning it, he promptly responded, "I'll have someone send it over right away." The tea house had Banzhong tea of a younger vintage before, but in the last 2 years, as Banzhong tea became particularly popular and exceptionally expensive, Pei Yuanfu's tea house could no longer supply it. Pei Yuanfu had also procured 2 small jars through connections, keeping them at home as a treasure, hardly daring to drink them. After leaving, he immediately made a call, urging that it be sent over post-haste. Chapter 907, Extra 358-3. A meeting, Grandpa's demeanor. 2 in the private room. Jiang Fulai opened the window a crack and spoke to Bai Lian. "The butler will be here soon to show you the design." Bai Lian brewed another pot of tea. "What design?" Jiang Fulai did not reply. Bai Lian raised an eyebrow. Soon, the butler arrived with a brocade box, opened it, and showed Bai Lian the embroidery inside. "Miss Bai, take a look." Do you like this embroidery? Bai Lian stood up and leaned over to examine the embroidery closely. Butterflies threading through flowers, the stitches tight and precise. Having seen Jihang's embroidery often, Bai Lian could discern some skills. This piece was acceptable, but not as good as Jihang's craftsmanship, who was still considered an amateur. It's all right, she nodded. However, the butler could tell that her approval was not very high. Especially. The butler looked at the vibrant poppies on Bai Lian's collar. He did not understand much about embroidery, but even with a simple glance, he could see that, while not lavish, those simple poppies had more artistic depth than the butterfly pattern. At the Ji family home, Ji Lang received a message. He ended the call, stood up, and spoke to his parents. The person in charge didn't like the work. He'll have to go to Grand Aunt. Originally, Ji Lang wanted the people from his branch of the family to make this embroidery, reluctant to let Grand Aunt's people get involved. Since no one saw the embroidery from his branch, Ji Lang had no choice but to consult Grand Aunt. Embroidery? Along, you mean? Ji Lang nodded. Grand Aunt, opportunity knocks but once. Naturally, Grand Aunt knew how to prioritize, and ordered someone to fetch a piece that she had won a prize for 2 years ago. Since it's a cloud brocade phoenix robe, this lady must intend it as a wedding dress. She can't be very old. When Ji Hung returned, Grand Aunt and Ji Lang were examining her award-winning embroidery. It depicted red plum blossoms on snow, red and white, creating a picturesque scene. Ji Hang glanced at it and nodded silently to himself. Upon seeing Ji Hang, Grand Aunt let go and greeted him. Uncle Meng set down some gift boxes. Grand Aunt, these are New Year's gifts Master and Second Master and Third Master brought for you. The decoration on the gift boxes was quite exquisite. Ji Lang glanced casually at the gift boxes, didn't pay much attention, and hurriedly left with Grand Aunt's work. Grand Aunt sat down again, having heard that Ji Hang was going to see his granddaughter. Why didn't you bring her back with you? She's been a bit busy lately, Ji Hang simply made an excuse. He might also bring a bodyguard when he returned. Of course, he was also concerned that the circumstances at the Ji family might affect Bai Lian's development. She rarely visited the Mu family, maintaining only a slightly better relationship with the Su family. Given her unique status, Ji Hung did not want to put her in a difficult position. Grand Aunt looked quizzically at Ji Hung. So busy during winter break? However, Ji Hang was always reticent, sank into thought for a moment before asking about his last few decades. You haven't been back, and we couldn't get any news about you this. I'm sorry. Ji Hang was very apologetic but did not elaborate further. Ji Hang was well aware of his unusual status. Ji Mulan had left the Ji family but still frequently encountered trouble. During that time, he stayed in Xianxia incognito. He did not want to impact the Ji family either. Now, due to that issue involving Bai Lian, a significant number of people had been purged domestically, leading Ji Hung to decide to return this year. After Ji Hung left, Grand Aunt had Ji Hang's gifts distributed to the second and third branches of the family, then asked Uncle Meng about Ji Hang's circumstances. That Miss Bai seems quite extraordinary, but Uncle Meng hesitated for a while before mentioning Xiaoqi's situation. Didn't finish junior high? Grand Aunt was somewhat shocked, stunned into sitting down. She remembered when Ji Wanxin was admitted to Jianghu University. She traveled alone to Jianghu to study. Her talents made her the most famous talented woman in Xiqing, coveted by many. She couldn't bear to see her descendants like this. Grand Aunt sat for a moment longer, then lifted her hand and sighed. Find an international junior high school, and have Alung pay more attention too. Find a time to speak with his father-in-law. We can't delay the child. Ji Lang's fiancé's family was in the education sector. It was indeed right to contact them. At the residence of Ji family's second master. After he and Ji Yun returned, the second madam showed him the gifts that had been sent over. Isn't this perfect? Don't you like to smoke? She showed the second master a box of rolled tobacco placed beside, stored in an exquisite wooden box, along with 2 cans of tea and an embroidery piece. The second master originally did not want to see the gifts from Ji Hang. When he saw the embroidery, he paused for a moment and then, with slightly trembling fingers, caressed the embroidered orchids on it. It was clear that the embroidery was new. Chapter 908, 358 Extra 3. Meeting, Grandpa's Grand Entrance _3 But. The nature of the needlework, the spirituality, Ji family second master could see. This was Ji Wanxin's style. But Ji Wanxin had been dead for many years. It shouldn't have been her embroidery, so it could only have been Ji Heng. To have learned and carried forward Ji Wanxin's embroidery skills, Ji family's second master knew Ji Heng had spent some time on it. If you don't want it, I will take it back and give it to my cousin. Second grandma glanced at the second grandpa, speaking slowly. Bring it to my study. Ji family's second master turned around. Second grandma looked at his back. And what about the tea and tobacco? I see you don't like them much. Take them all. After he left, second grandma then looked at Ji Yun. Your grandfather, he's just Sundra. Third branch. Ji family's third master had always been very ambitious, starting from paving the way with Ji Lang's fiancée. The Yin family was a family of scholars in Xiqing, with the old Mr. Yin being from Xiqing Education Bureau, and both An's father and mother were professors at Shida University. Their family of old scholars had a wide network across Xiqing's education circles. Ji Lang was the linchpin of the third branch. He returned at 10 at night after delivering the embroidery of the head lady of the family. Uncle Meng respectfully brought over the gifts Ji Heng had sent for them, and mentioned the matter of the school to the third branch. The third branch had no embroidery, only specialties from Xianxia, together with beautifully packaged tea and tobacco. The tea and tobacco were meticulously packaged by Xiaoqi, looking very appealing. After Uncle Meng left, Ji family's third master casually tossed the tea and tobacco aside, not bothering with them. Grandfather, Ji Lang frowned. The school they mentioned? No need to worry about it. Ji Heng had been following Uncle Meng these past few days, revisiting places Ji Wanxin used to frequent. But it had been decades. Some places had been renovated, while others had been rebuilt. Only near the municipal government were there still old Western-style buildings and old buildings, but most were not open to the public. Before, Miss Wanxin wrote speeches right around here. Uncle Meng took Ji Heng to watch from across the street. Young master, there are guards here, we can't get too close. Ji Heng nodded. All right. From a distance, one could see the municipal center building, guarded at the main entrance. Entry required an ID. Ji Heng picked up his phone wanting to take a photo to print out and bring back to Xianxia for Ji Wanxin to see. Previously, he had done the same when viewing scenery. Uncle Meng was startled. Young master, we can't take photos here. Sorry. Ji Heng put away his phone. As they spoke, from a distance, they saw 3 young men coming out of the municipal center, accompanied by a person dressed in an administrative jacket seeing them off. Young master, let's step aside for a bit. Uncle Meng led Ji Heng to walk backward. Ji Heng's gaze still lingered on the plane trees beside the building. Ahead, while the 3 young men were about to get into a car, the middle one saw something and suddenly walked to the side. The middle-aged man in the administrative jacket followed him out. Seeing this, Uncle Meng quickly whispered again. Young master, let's head the other way for now, we can come back to view it later. Ji Heng vaguely retracted his gaze, nodded, and left with Uncle Meng. Lit up a tobacco pipe. Behind him, Ning Xiao saw Ji Heng leaving and quickly called out to him. Grandfather! He and Tang Ming had always addressed him following Bai Lian's example. Ji Heng, disconnecting from his emotions, turned around, seeing it was Ning Xiao, stopped. Little Ning. Ning Xiao was there for a project exchange that day. He approached quickly. Grandfather, what are you doing here? Came to look at the municipal building. Ji Heng still held his phone. Ning Xiao, always a man of few words, succinctly introduced to the other 2, Bai Lian's grandfather. Hearing he was Bai Lian's grandfather, Pei Qin and Wang Su immediately perked up. Pei Su bowed to Ji Heng, introducing himself with courtesy. Grandfather, hello, I am Pei Qin, previously in a group with Bai Lian. Wang Su even bowed at 90 degrees. Grandfather, welcome to Xiqing. My name is Wang Su, you can call me Little Wang. Grandfather, are you here to see the municipal building? I can take you inside for a tour. Bai Lian's grandfather called Ning Xiao Little Ning, so he called him Little Wang. Rounding up, he was as formidable as Ning Xiao. Chapter 909, Extra 358/4. Sister Lian visits the Ji family. Ji Heng fell silent for a moment. Has the municipal building changed much? This was where Wang Su was out of his depth. He scratched his head and looked at Pei Qin. Pei Qin's family was involved in politics, with basically the entire family working there, and he had often been brought in and out of the place since elementary school. There hasn't been much change. Are you going in? Xiqing was an ancient city, preserving many historical sites. The municipal building was also a relic left over from the Republic era, so it hadn't been rebuilt or renovated. It was maintained and repaired on a regular basis every year. Jianghu's gaze shifted to the phoenix tree beside him, and he lowered his eyes. "I've troubled you." "It's no trouble." Hearing that Jianghu wanted to go in, Pei Qin walked them toward the entrance while taking out his phone to make a call. He whispered a few words to the person on the other end of the line. He needed a few pass cards. The middle-aged man in a jacket saw that Pei Qin and his group hadn't left, so he waited for them at the entrance of the building. "Ah Su, who are these two gentlemen?" Seeing Wang Su following behind Jianghu, the middle-aged man was surprised. "Uncle Chong," Wang Su introduced Jianghu. "This is the grandfather of a Jianghu University classmate of mine. He's been visiting Xiqing for a few days and wants to go inside the municipal building for a visit." One could tell the attitude of these three young people, Wang Su, Ning Xiao, and Pei Qin, toward the old man. Uncle Chong extended his hand. "Hello, welcome to Xiqing." "Hello." The two shook hands. Pei Qin stood a few steps away on the phone, then looked up at Jianghu's group. "Grandpa, does your uncle also want to go together with you?" Meng Shu saw Pei Qin's gaze fall on the person beside him, and he instinctively looked up. His gaze was somewhat blank as he looked at Pei Qin and the middle-aged man in front of him. Meng Shu had heard the introductions to Wang Su and Pei Qin just now. The Pei family of Xiqing, and the young master Pei Qin, were well known. Even Meng Shu had heard of him. Of course, that was aside from whether this Pei Qin was indeed that young Master Pei. And as for the man in the administrative jacket, the one who often appeared on the news, how could Meng Shu not recognize him? Those who could address this Uncle Chong, one with the surname Wang and the other Pei, which household these two young masters came from, was there any need to guess? His reaction was slow, so by the time Pei Qin looked at him, Meng Shu hadn't managed to respond. "Together," said Jianghu. Pei Qin nodded, spoke a few more words into the phone, then hung up. Within less than 10 minutes, a staff member came out with 2 more temporary access cards and handed them to Jianghu and Meng Shu. Meng Shu lowered his head, gazing at the card in his hand. The center featured an image of the entire municipal building. The top left corner bore the emblem of Xiqing and the name of the municipal building, and on the right was a stamped signature. Pei Yuan Fu. The municipal building was grand and majestic. In front of the meeting room were several rows of dark wooden chairs on a red-gold carpet, luxurious and solemn. Further inside, one could still see old equipment. Jianghu stood at the end of the 3rd floor, looking at a wooden door that was locked at the very back. This place bore no sign. Seeing Jianghu standing there without moving, Pei Qin looked back at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took a step forward and introduced to Jianghu. "Mr. Ji, this used to be an office for special intelligence gathering. Later, Xiqing ceased to have this department, and it's been kept this way ever since. You may enter to have a look." With that, he asked someone to bring the keys. Soon after, someone arrived with keys to unlock the door. Inside, all that met the eye were old items, most covered with dust sheets, layered with dust. It had been a long time since anyone had come in, and the dust was thick. Sunlight poured in through the windows, clearly revealing the shape of the beams. The light's final resting place was on a pet computer in the corner. A computer over 40 years old, it was rare, integrating the main body, keyboard, and screen into one unit like a miniature sofa. This was the first time Wang Su and the others had seen such an antique computer, and they were naturally curious. Jianghu walked to the corner and slowly wiped the dust from the computer screen. Briefly thereafter, Jianghu thanked Pei Qin and his group before leaving. Pei Qin and Ning Xiao saw him out. No sooner had they reached the downstairs than Jianghu suggested they attend to their own matters, and then he headed to the parking lot with Meng Shu. Upon reaching the parking spot, Meng Shu held the car keys but forgot to unlock the car. A gust of cold wind blew and he came to his senses. "My lord, those two?" Jianghu didn't rush him to open the car door. Instead, he lowered his head, cupping a sparkler in one hand and lighting it. He gently exhaled a ring of smoke. "Alien's friends." Alien. Meng Shu knew this was Jianghu's granddaughter. The research base. Bai Lian and Tang Ming were busy creating a model. When they finished and came out, Ning Xiao still hadn't returned. Chapter 9-10. Side Story 358-4. Sister Lian comes to Ji family under Sir Tu Jiangfu was waiting outside, holding a wooden box in his hand. Upon seeing Bai Lian return, he put down the wooden box, slightly turned his head aside, and said, The butler Jiang just had someone send this over, have a look. Bai Lian, while removing her white lab coat, walked over. She reached out and casually lifted the lid of the wooden box. At first glance, she saw the embroidery inside. Snow plum. Compared to the last time, the snow plum embroidered this time was obviously of much higher quality. Especially. Bai Lian reached out to touch the embroidery, and turned her head towards Jianghu Lai. Do you not think the stitches of this snow plum look remarkably familiar? Jianghu Lai. Don't they all look the same? Bai Lian. She had forgotten that he didn't have an artistic bone in his body. After a moment of silence, she took out her phone, took a photo and sent it to Ji Heng. The stitches were somewhat like Ji Heng's technique, but they were more skillful than his. The reply from Ji Heng came back very quickly. A master's work, Bai Lian. I think so too. After talking about the snow plum picture, Ji Heng also mentioned Pei Qin and Wang Su, saying he had taken him around the government building that afternoon and even let him take pictures. Jianghu Lai stood to the left of Bai Lian, watching her conversation with Ji Heng. Then his gaze lowered once again to the snow plum. Feeling downcast for a long while, he sent a message to butler Jiang, confirming this picture of snow plum. Ji family. When Ji Heng returned, Ji Lang was in the hall chatting amiably with Miss N. They were all smiles. It was apparent they had encountered something delightful. Madam, this cloud brocade phoenix robe is going to cost you. Yu Guang, upon seeing Uncle Meng bringing Ji Heng home, saw Ji Lang lower his gaze and take a sip of tea, swallowing down the rest of the sentence he was about to say. Ji Heng had come to greet his elder sister-in-law. The matters in Xiqing were almost settled. He was planning to go back to Xianxia. Ji Wanxin previously had the best relationship with her sister-in-law. Ji Heng showed her great respect as well. Want you stay a few more days? The elder sister-in-law exclaimed in surprise. I was just talking to Alung about getting in touch with some middle schools. Middle schools? Ji Heng remembered Xiaoqi. Even without considering the Ji family's influence, the bond between Bai Lian and Xiaoqi was unparalleled. If he wanted to continue his education, there would be no shortage of schools fighting to admit him. After all, everyone who came from Bai Lian's side was exceptional. He knew Xiaoqi just didn't want to waste any more time in school. Madam, if he doesn't want to study, let him be, Ji Heng shook his head. When he decides he wants to, then we'll talk about it. Listening to Ji Heng's words, the elder sister-in-law looked completely bewildered. With such a solemn expression on Ji Heng's face, it was hard to believe he would indulge the younger generation to this extent. The child said he didn't want to go to school, and he actually didn't press the issue? Having spoken with the elder sister-in-law, Ji Heng then departed. He noticed Ji Lang was deliberately avoiding him and didn't inquire further, simply leaving. Off to the side, Uncle Meng glanced at Ji Heng's retreating back and then to Ji Lang, who looked indifferent. He opened his mouth as if to say something but eventually chose to remain silent. It was only after Ji Lang left that he quietly relayed to the elder sister-in-law the events of the day. The Pei family? The Wang family? The elder sister-in-law looked shocked. It then occurred to her that she still didn't know the names of Ji Heng's granddaughter and grandson. All she knew was one was called Alien, and the other Xiaoqi. His granddaughter also got into Jianghu University, just like Wanxin? The elder sister-in-law realized afterward. If the two of them claimed to be Bai Lian's classmates, they could only be university classmates. The young masters from the Pei and Wang families were students of Jianghu University. Certainly, Uncle Meng squinted his eyes. He thought to himself that it was probably far more than just that. The respectful attitude that Master Pei and young Master Wang from the Wang family had just now towards Ji Heng was almost reverential. A day later, Ji Heng was set to leave Xiqing and return to Xianxia. There was still work to be done at the Bai Lian base, and she had to take Pei Qin and Wang Su with her. So Bai Lian left Pei Qin and Wang Su in the care of Jianghu Lai for the time being. Xiaoqi had just arrived in Xiqing today. Bai Lian went to find Xiaoqi and along the way, pick up Ji Heng for the airport. She made a phone call to Ji Heng, saying she would come to pick him up. Ji Heng didn't have much to pack, just a black briefcase containing a few old items that Ji Wanxin had cherished. Uncle Meng and Grandma both came to see Ji Heng off. Ji Heng packed an oil paper-wrapped package and tilting his head said to Uncle Meng, "No need to see me off, Alien will take a detour to pick me up." Grandma and Uncle Meng had become very sensitive to the name Alien these past couple of days. Upon hearing Ji Heng's words, Grandma stood up, Wangxin's granddaughter? She's coming? Has she arrived? Have her come inside and take a look around. Ever since Uncle Meng speculated that Bai Lian might be a student at Jianghu University, Grandma had been unable to calm down. When she married into the Ji family, Ji Wanxin was only in middle school, and the two had a very close relationship. Especially after hearing that she attended the same university as Ji Wanxin, she was even more eager to meet the alien that Ji Hang mentioned. She had hinted at it a few times, but Ji Hang had not responded to her queries. "She'll be here soon," Ji Hang said as he opened a drawer and took out another wooden windmill, pondering for a moment. She might not come in. This was a toy that Ji Wanxin had played with as a child. Grandma could no longer care about that and was about to head out to wait for Bai Lian. Uncle Meng hurriedly took her arm. "Grandma, you shouldn't go out into the cold. I'll go wait for Miss Alien." "All right." Grandma also realized she had been too anxious and sat down again, but her eyes still lingered towards the door. "You go quickly." Outside the Ji family's main gate, Uncle Meng ran over, huffing and puffing. He looked towards the end of the road and saw a car slowly approaching in less than 10 minutes. It had a local Jianghu license plate. The car stopped right outside the Ji family's main gate. Uncle Meng straightened up immediately and saw the passenger side door open, and a casually dressed person step out. He recognized one of them as someone he had just met at the tea house a few days ago. Uncle Meng confirmed that this was indeed the car of Ji Hang's granddaughter. At the same time, the person in the back seat also opened the door and bent over to step out. In a white hoodie and beige casual pants and lifting their head against the light, long fingers played with a cell phone, squinting in the direction of the main gate. Uncle Meng had been in Jianghu for many years and had seen his share of exceptionally beautiful people. Xiqing had always been home to beauties, and Ji Wanxin herself was once the ravishing beauty of Xiqing. The Ji family's young masters and young ladies were all quite attractive, but none could hold a candle to the girl in front of him. Uncle Meng was taken aback for a moment before he finally came to his senses and walked forward. "Are you Miss Alien?" "Yes, hello." Bai Lian nodded slightly towards him. "The master is still packing. It's cold outside. Let me take you inside to wait for him. Have a cup of hot tea," Uncle Meng gestured, inviting Bai Lian in. Bai Lian gave him a glance, considered briefly, and then stepped onto the elevator. The casually dressed person behind her kept a distance of a few meters, following neither too far nor too close. The Ji family's house was a Chinese-style courtyard, not too large. Upon entering, one could see someone cleaning up trash, with green trash bins filled to the brim. Bai Lian initially glanced casually, but the next second, something on the trash bin caught her eye, making her squint and pause to take a closer look. Uncle Meng noticed Bai Lian had stopped and saw that she was looking casually at the trash bin to the left, her expression unreadable. He also looked over and saw a familiar corner of a gift box protruding from the left-hand bin. Feeling uneasy, he watched as Bai Lian reached out, not minding the grime, and pulled the entire gift box out. The brand-new, unopened gift box. She recognized it. It was the one Xiaoqi had carefully packaged for the tea leaves. Bai Lian looked down with an indifferent expression, gently brushed a leaf off the elegant gift box, and looked at it before tilting her head slightly. "Where did this come from?" Chapter 911. Extra Episode 360 Chapter 5. The dominance of Bai Lian. The gift boxes Xiaoqi packaged were all under the guidance of Sun Chun, and both had quite the aesthetic. Both the wooden boxes and their decorations had a charming appeal. At the time, Uncle Meng also helped bring them back, and he had a deep impression of these boxes and recognized them at a glance. Which family would carelessly throw this gift box out as trash? Uncle Meng's heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, the next second, the cleaning staff politely said, "This is from the third master's yard." Third master? Bai Lian didn't know who he was but thanked the person anyway. "Thank you." She held the gift box in her hand and continued walking inside with Uncle Meng, looking at him with the same casual and loose expression as before. Seeing Uncle Meng looking over, she gave him a polite smile. It seemed she wasn't bothered by the gift box from the trash bin. Despite her gentle expression, Uncle Meng felt somewhat uneasy for reasons unknown. By the time Bai Lian arrived, Ji Hang had almost finished packing his things. Ji family's second master stood in the middle of the hall, ready to return to Xianxia with Ji Hang. He held a hand-rolled cigarette and looked towards the left at the embroidery frame. "If you're not bringing her back, you should at least let me pay my respects to her. It's been 40 years. Ji family's second master actually knew that when Wanxin was at home, She often contacted the municipal people. Later, after getting into Jianghu University and getting together with Mu Heng, the two of them vanished from public view, with no news and no way to trace them. Back then, Ji family's second master guessed that Wan Xin and Mu Heng might already be people of the state. He couldn't really blame Mu Heng. Even without him, Wan Xin would have made the same choice. What he couldn't let go of was that Ji Heng hadn't contacted them for so long and hadn't brought Wan Xin back either. Ji Heng was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "Now it's possible." Great Aunt stood aside, quietly sighing. The Ji family was now in a state of heated rivalry. Compared to the hastily ambitious third branch, Great Aunt preferred the composed second branch. Recently though, the third branch had delivered frequent successes, especially with securing a cooperation in Jianghu. This cooperation was still a mystery to Great Aunt. For Ji family's second master, leaving at this juncture was more disadvantageous than beneficial. She knew she couldn't dissuade Ji family's second master. She sighed and saw two people walking through the door. In the dead of winter, the girl wore a white sweatshirt, looking quite frail. She stepped over the threshold and gracefully entered. The dimly lit room became bright instantly because of her arrival. Great Aunt's gaze shifted towards her, and without needing Uncle Meng to introduce her, she knew this must be alien that Ji Heng had mentioned. Such was her distinctive flair. This seemed to surprise Ji family's second master somewhat. Bai Lian entered, greeting politely. Her eyes unobtrusively surveyed the room's furnishings, somewhat guessing what her grandmother did. Actually, there was no need to guess. The Mu family had nothing to do with embroidery, and Ji Heng's embroidery skills obviously came from someone else. "This is my granddaughter, Bai Lian." Seeing Bai Lian, Ji Heng's expression softened considerably. Chin slightly lifted as he introduced her to the room. It was clear how proud he was. As for the gift box in Bai Lian's hands, Ji Heng glanced at it and then averted his gaze, seemingly guessing where it came from, and not really caring much about it. Ji Heng needed to catch a flight and didn't stay long. Great Aunt saw them out and as they were leaving, left Bai Lian. "Good child, do you want to stay at Ji family for a few days? Let your grandparents go back first?" "Thank you, but I have other things to attend to," Bai Lian politely declined. After the car drove away, Great Aunt then walked back, remarking to Uncle Meng about Bai Lian. "Jianghu University, still so well behaved. Truly a descendant of Wan Xin. She carries her grace." Back in the courtyard, Great Aunt remembered the gift box Bai Lian had brought. In Great Aunt's room, there were two similar boxes. "It's from the third master's room," Uncle Meng honestly spoke. "The third master might not have noticed and accidentally threw away the box. Miss Bai picked it up from the trash bin." Great Aunt was shocked. Even if they didn't like it, they could have just set it aside, not thrown it into the trash bin. What kind of manners was that? She had someone look for Ji family's third master. Although Ji family's third master didn't care for the gift, he wouldn't have discarded it. "It might have been placed in a corner with some refuse last night and got cleared out by the servants by mistake," he explained. "Call them later and explain the situation," Great Aunt sighed. Ji family's third master responded, changing the topic. "The Che family also sent some embroidery, but in the end, we were slightly better off. In a few days, I'm planning to invite that butler for a meal." Chapter 912, Extra Episode 360 Chapter 5. The dominance of Bai Lian understood too. After he said these things, he turned around and left the courtyard gate. Of course, as for making a phone call to explain the gift as big sister-in-law had said, he seemed to have forgotten about it. "Where is my second brother?" he asked the person next to him. Having heard that second master Ji had gone to Xianxia, third master Ji shook his head. Why would he go there? In the past 2 years, third master Ji had also heard many people talk about Xianxia, especially young people who loved to check in at Xianxia. But the fact that it was previously impoverished was also true. No matter how popular it was, third master Ji didn't think such an 18th-tier small city could change much. However, it was good that he went to Xianxia. Third Master Ji planned to use this time to finalize the Phoenix robe matter. Second Master Ji accompanied Ji Heng to Xianxia. They bought plane tickets directly. After getting off the plane, he saw the newly built Xianxia airport, not very large, but very distinctive, and not as shabby as Second Master Ji had imagined. He followed Ji Heng off the plane. Passing the newly constructed 6-lane roads, he looked at the tourist ring road, the various shopping malls, and the residential areas under construction. All sorts of large corporations were settling in Xianxia. This level of investment was already comparable to a new first-tier city. How much did those at the top value Xianxia? Second Master Ji was shocked beyond belief. They arrived at Purist Street. Seeing Purist Street's large crowd, he was astonished for a long while. You live here? This must be a popular tourist spot, right? Jianghu lives here? How could it be completely different from what he had imagined? Second Master Ji was shocked inwardly, but outwardly he calmly followed Jianghu to his residence. Tomorrow morning I'll take you there to pay homage, Jianghu said as he walked into the courtyard, speaking to Second Master Ji. It should be closed by now at this hour. A mausoleum? Second Master Ji thought it was normal for the mausoleum to be closed. He followed Jianghu to the front of the courtyard, observing the clean courtyard, and saw two elderly men playing chess next door. Jianghu's courtyard gate was locked. He took out his keys to unlock it. The elderly neighbor, who was deeply engrossed in his chess game, heard the noise, stood up, and greeted Jianghu. Old Ji, you're finally back? Perfect timing. Manager Jian was looking for you. Saying that, he promptly took his chess set and went back to his own house, leaving Manager Jian to Jianghu. Jianghu, while unlocking the door, asked in surprise, What brings you here? I came to Xianxia to join the excitement and to look for classmate Bai Lian, said Manager Jian as he slowly walked over, not feeling the slightest bit guilty about bullying the old gentleman next door. She's been busy for several months, and Yan Lu hasn't released a new song in half a year. Jianghu couldn't answer for Bai Lian regarding these matters, and simply opened the courtyard gate. He then introduced Manager Jian to Second Master Ji. Mr. Ji, it's good to meet you, said Manager Jian as he offered a friendly handshake to Second Master Ji. Second Master Ji took in Manager Jian's attire and demeanor, realizing that this man was not simple. But of course, he was not aware of what Manager Jian meant by any songs. But he knew of the big star Yan Lu. After all, Yan Lu was a rising sun of fame, and Second Master Ji had even seen the drama Great Yong. Jianghu and the others actually knew Yan Lu? Not only did they know her, but it also sounded like they were quite close. Especially since Jianghu said that this person was even Bai Lian's sworn sibling? After shaking hands, Manager Jian continued to seek out Jianghu. You should also push classmate Bai Lian a little. She is too lazy. This won't do. Look, Yan Lu has even finished filming a movie. Jianghu went to the kitchen to boil water and make tea for them. He acted as if he hadn't heard. In the courtyard, Second Master Ji exchanged a look with Manager, expressing his astonishment. The next day, at 7 in the morning, Jianghu took Second Master Ji to pay homage to Ji Wanxin. Second Master Ji had always thought that Ji Wanxin was in the mausoleum, but to his surprise, Jianghu took him straight to a tourist spot. The site was obviously quite popular. There were people all along the way. Are you sure it's here? Second Master Ji was struggling as he climbed the mountain, panting heavily. Yet seeing Jianghu continue to climb with ease, as if walking on flat ground, he was too embarrassed to ask for a rest. He also muttered under his breath about Jianghu's surprisingly good physical condition. Jianghu turned onto a smaller path, where the number of people dwindled significantly. They only encountered a few scattered tourists. Taking another small path, they finally saw several tall tombstones. Jianghu stood beside one for a while before saying, This is it. He took out incense and, as usual, a pot of wine. Second Master Ji was truly shocked now. Looking at Ji Wanxin's tombstone for a long time, he couldn't react, thinking, Aren't the tombstones in such tourist spots usually memorials for great heroes and public figures? His mind in disarray, he took out incense candles and paid homage to Ji Wanxin. Next to him, Jianghu poured wine in front of the other two tombstones, then silently burned paper money. Chapter 913. Extra Episode 360 Chapter 5. The dominance of Bai Lian under the atmosphere was oppressive. As they descended the mountain, Jianghu slowly started talking to Ji Second Master. Previously, when I was abroad, I sent messages to the homeland. The enemy was watching closely. Wanxin, posing as a pregnant woman, visited me and passed the messages on. Eventually, she was discovered. Jianghu told Ji Second Master whatever he could. He was giving an account. I have always been guarding Xianxia. Jianghu placed his hands behind his back and looked up at the sunlight above. It's only in the past 2 years when the spotlight has lessened that I found a chance to return to the Ji family. Ji Second Master stayed in Xianxia for 2 days. He went to visit the bustling Wallow Street, as well as the Calligraphy Association and the Martial Arts Center. He went there with Director Jian. Director Jian enjoyed browsing the Calligraphy Association, and there he encountered a middle-aged woman in a suit. Ji's second master observed Director Jian chatting with this woman for quite some time. He stood aside, observing the artworks hanging on the walls of the Calligraphy Association, without uttering a word. He simply thought she was an acquaintance of Director Jian. However, upon hearing the middle-aged woman address Jianghu as director, and seeing the respect on her face, Ji's second master was surprised. A director? What kind of director? Director Jian and the middle-aged woman walked towards the outdoor stage. Watching the crowd of tourists outside, Ji's second master followed behind them, overhearing the staff outside addressing the woman as Director Sunday. Who is she? Ji's second master was once again taken aback and asked the person beside him. Are you talking about Director Sun? The young person beside him chuckled. She's the head of the Xianxia Culture and Tourism Bureau. She's approachable and young people really like her. The head of the Culture and Tourism Bureau? Ji's second master's gaze shifted back to Director Jian. This head of the Culture and Tourism Bureau held such respect for Jianghu. So who exactly is this Director Jian? That was enough for now. Jianghu did mention that Director Jian and Bai Lian were old friends despite the age difference? Xicheng. The butler came to confirm the size and preferred patterns with Bai Lian. Bai Lian glanced at the adjacent snow plum, recalling the incident at the Ji family, until the butler mentioned that he was making clothes for her. She inquired further about whom the butler had collaborated with. Having visited the Ji family, Bai Lian knew the Ji family had a heritage. The butler naturally did not conceal anything from Bai Lian and explained about the Ji family. The Ji family? Bai Lian stretched out her arms to let the embroideress take her measurements, pondering slightly. Send me that person's information later. The butler nodded. All right. After staying in Xianxia for 2 days, Ji's second master hurriedly returned to Xicheng to prepare for work. He also brought along some new clothes made by Jianghu for Bai Lian. Bai Lian had arranged to meet him at a tea house on the ancient street. Before entering, his phone rang in his pocket. He frowned upon seeing the caller and stepped outside to answer. The caller was Ji third master. Haven't you arrived yet? Ji third master spoke in a tone not respectful but rather condescending and commanding. Didn't I ask you to bring me that coat? The Ji family had a meeting, and it was almost certain that Ji third master would get the cooperation deal with Jianghu. His manner of speaking was naturally different from before. Something came up. Ji's second master did not mention Bai Lian, having learned from Uncle Meng that Bai Lian was affiliated with Jianghu University, and with Director Jian in the background, Ji's second master had realized that Bai Lian was not as he had imagined. Not to mention the 2 plainclothes agents just outside. Ji third master was very dissatisfied and coldly hung up the phone. In the vicinity, Ji's second master's confidant expressed worry. Second master, it said that third master is meeting an important guest today, and the visitor is from Jianghu. I know, Ji's second master continued to head upwards. He reached the private room Bai Lian had mentioned. Ji's second master immediately saw the 2 plainclothes guards standing outside the box. He paused for a moment, then lifted the curtain and entered with the paper bag prepared by Jianghu. Bai Lian was sitting by the window, leisurely making tea. She held the purple clay teapot, gently nodding 3 times, filling the teacups halfway. The fragrance of the tea permeated the entire private room. Ji's second master sniffed. It seemed like the tea Jianghu had given him. This is what your grandfather asked me to bring you. Ji's second master handed a package of clothes to Bai Lian. Thank you. Bai Lian placed one hand on the table, the other holding the teacup, slowly savoring it as her gaze dropped. The confidant waited anxiously outside, knocked on the door, urging Ji's second master to attend the meeting. Having delivered the items and courteously sipped the tea, Ji's second master stood to leave, ready to rush back. Wait a moment, Bai Lian put down the teacup, took out her phone, and showed Ji's second master a photo. Is this one of your family's embroidery pieces? He recognized it as snow plum embroidery by his elder sister-in-law. After pondering for a moment, Ji's second master replied, It's my sister-in-law's award-winning piece. Bai Lian poured herself more tea, as she had anticipated. After filling her cup, she placed the teapot down, pressing her finger on the lid and tapping it slowly, pondering for a moment before lifting her head. Your sister-in-law's work, but it's your youngest uncle who discussed the cooperation? Ji's second master was a bit taken aback. His youngest brother had kept the matter extremely confidential, and he knew little about it, not even knowing who the cooperation partner was. It was his youngest uncle, however, who had been very prominent at the weaving factory because of this matter over the past 2 days. He did not know how Bai Lian had uncovered this matter. "Yes, my brother handled this." Bai Lian looked up, glanced at him, then pulled out her phone and dialed a number briefly. "Come to the tea house." Bai Lian tossed her phone onto the table, crossed her arms and leaned back, her demeanor exuding an innate wildness. "I have some complaints about your Ji family's third master. Either change the person negotiating with me, or this partnership ends here." Chapter 914. Extra Story 361-6. Not an ordinary person, Boss Mao Xiaoqi. The Xiqing weaving factory has occupied an important position since ancient times. In the early years, the Ji family also belonged to the management class of the weaving factory, acting as the eyes and ears of the emperor, which was the heyday of the Xiqing weaving factory. Now, the factory doesn't wield the same influence, but its people still hold public office. But now, the entire weaving factory has become a state-owned enterprise. The eldest aunt of the Ji family is one of the most powerful heritage craftsmen in the weaving factory today. Ji Iri and Ji San are close behind, and now Ji San is connecting to a business deal that is very beneficial to the weaving factory, promoting its influence. This matter had been news a few months ago and was also a major project that the weaving factory had been preparing to follow up on this year. Ji Iri looked at Bai Lian and didn't react for a while, until the phone rang again. This time, it was the eldest aunt's call. She was in the weaving conference hall, asking Ji Iri. The director said that the person in charge of the cooperating party will also come. Lao San and several from the Chao family have been waiting for a long time. "Why haven't you arrived yet?" Ji Iri sat opposite Bai Lian and took quite a while to react before whispering, "I have some matters here and can't return for the time being." Outside the private room, someone knocked on the door. 3 people entered, one of them an old man in a black robe, holding a cane in his left hand, slowly walking inside. This elder was someone Ji Iri had never seen before. The middle-aged man by the elder's side was holding the door curtain, letting the elder in first. After the elderly man entered, the middle-aged man followed a step behind, walking in. Following them, there was a young man in a black cotton-padded jacket. The male's face was youthful. Ji Iri's gaze shifted to the middle-aged man beside him before he clearly saw his face. Surprised, he quickly stood up from his chair and called out, "Mr. Pei." Pei Yuanfu, hearing the voice, looked at Ji Iri, but he did not recognize him. However, seeing him sitting opposite Bai Lian, he also nodded politely. Then he turned to Bai Lian, both politely and respectfully. "Miss Bai, how's the tea today?" "Quite good," Bai Lian responded. "Glad you're enjoying it," Pei Yuanfu sighed in relief. Ji Iri listened to their conversation and didn't dare to speak. After speaking a few words with Pei Yuanfu, Bai Lian then introduced the other 2 men to Ji Iri. "Xiaoqi, my cousin." "Xiaoqi?" Ji Iri's thoughts stirred, recalling what Ji Hang had just mentioned a few days ago, Mao Xiaoqi, his grandson who hadn't completed middle school. He looked at Xiaoqi, sitting in the chair. The young man was wearing a black cotton-padded jacket. Because it was warm in the tea house, the zipper was not up, and his fringe fell forward onto his forehead, giving him a refined and elegant appearance, like an artist holding a paintbrush. Indeed, he resembled Bai Lian quite a bit. If Ji Hang hadn't mentioned Xiaoqi, Ji Iri wouldn't have guessed that he hadn't finished middle school. "Nice to meet you," Xiaoqi greeted Ji Iri politely. Bai Lian continued to introduce Ji Iri to the butler by her side. "This is Butler Jiang. Regarding matters of the weaving factory, you can talk to him." Hearing Bai Lian's words, Pei Yuanfu silently sat in the last empty seat, thoughtfully glancing at Ji Iri. 20 minutes later, Ji Iri, holding a signed contract, looked at the signature on the last page and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. Bai Lian was to return to the seawater desalination base, taking with her the clothes Ji Hang had brought for her as she went downstairs. Butler Jiang and Pei Yuanfu went down the stairs together to see her off. Xiaoqi followed the group at a suitable distance, emanating a clear and graceful air. 2 plainclothes security guards followed behind her, also keeping a suitable distance. As Bai Lian was about to get into the car, Ji Iri suddenly remembered Director Jian and hurriedly called out to Bai Lian. "Director Jian asked when you would bring out your guzheng. It's been half a year." After hearing that, Bai Lian got into the car and waved towards Ji Iri cavalierly. She didn't give an answer. As the car drove away, Pei Yuanfu sent Butler Jiang off in a car, then turned to Ji Iri, took out his phone, and very friendly invited him to dinner. Ji Eri was flattered. Mr. Xiaoqi, Pei Yuanfu then invited Mao Xiaoqi, who was a step behind them. Would you like to join us? Standing aside, Ji Eri could clearly see that Pei Yuanfu's attitude towards Xiaoqi was like that towards an equal. Although it wasn't as reverent as towards Bai Lian, it was still very cautious. After finishing their meal and on the way back, Pei Yuanfu naturally included Butler Jiang in the conversation. Ji Eri took out his own phone, a little fancifully, exchanged phone numbers, and added Pei Yuanfu on WeChat. On the side, his confidant saw that both Pei Yuanfu and Xiaoqi had left. Only then did he look at Ji Eri in surprise. Second Master, why did Mr. Pei eat with you? And who is this Mr. Xiaoqi? Chapter 915, Extra Story 361-6. Not an ordinary person, Boss Mao Xiaoqi, is the grandson of my elder aunt, and as for Mr. Pei, Second Master Ji exhaled, he is a guest of my elder aunt's granddaughter. Evening. When Second Master Ji returned home, most of the Ji family had also come back. The eldest sister-in-law sat in the living room, with Third Master Ji beside her, and Ji Lang and Ji Yun among a few others. The atmosphere was quite silent. Seeing Second Master Ji, the eldest sister-in-law looked up and inquired why he had returned at such a time. Second Master Ji was still thinking about Bai Lian. Hearing this, he looked up. I was just bringing something to Wangxin's granddaughter. Ji Wangxin's granddaughter? Third Master Ji, who was holding a teacup, looked up at Second Master Ji, hintingly said. Second brother, today the director and several managers from the weaving factory were there, everyone except you. Second Master Ji cast his eyes down and did not respond. When Ji Lang and the others were about to leave, the eldest sister-in-law remembered something and asked Ji Lang, Alung, how are you preparing for Wangxin's grandson's school registration? She was talking about Xiaoqi. Ji Lang had not taken Ji Heng's family to heart at all and had long forgotten about it. He replied calmly, Anan told me that these few days, the management from Xiankong headquarters have come to Xiqing. I am currently liaising with them about this matter. Registering for school isn't something that can be done in a short time, especially for someone who has been out of school for several years. How popular Xiankong had been lately was known even to the eldest sister-in-law, who was deeply engaged in embroidery. Because she sat on the embroidery stool year-round, she had developed chronic ailments in her hands and back. She had even queued for a card at Xiankong before, and it was thanks to the acupuncture and massage from Xuankang's doctors that she was still able to hold an embroidery needle. This matter is indeed very important, the eldest sister-in-law showed understanding but still urged. School is about to start, try to get it done when you have time. Ji Lang smiled and gave no answer. Second Master Ji was still holding a file bag in his hand. He silently sat aside and had Uncle Meng pour him a cup of tea. Hearing this, he glanced at Third Master Ji. It was not until Third Master Ji and Ji Lang had left that the eldest sister-in-law sighed. I see that Alung doesn't really want to help with the school registration, so you should also keep an eye on it. Second Master Ji picked up the teacup and took a sip. He had heard about Xiaoqi from Uncle Meng, Ji Heng's grandson, who did not finish middle school and did not wish to continue his education. Second Master Ji had also thought Ji Heng was being foolish before. But after meeting Xiaoqi today, Second Master Ji felt that Xiaoqi was different from what he had imagined. Seeing Pei Yuanfu's attitude towards Xiaoqi and Bai Lian, wasn't getting a school registration just a matter of a few words? Okay, I'll ask around tomorrow, Second Master Ji finished speaking but then remembered the Jiang family butler, pausing slightly. Did you see that person at the weaving factory today with the third brother? Hearing this, the eldest sister-in-law shook her head. No, only people from the weaving factory came over. It was said that they were busy with something, and we still don't know what the situation is. Second Master Ji wasn't surprised. After the eldest sister-in-law finished speaking, he placed the file in front of her. Take a look at this. What is this? The eldest sister-in-law looked at the file on the table with surprise, then opened it and asked Uncle Meng to bring her reading glasses. As soon as she put them on, she saw the text on the first page of the agreement. She quickly sat up straight and read down the page. Then she flipped to the last page. The last two lines of signatures, with Ji Lang's name in front, and the last line, signature, Jiang Shiju Seal, Zhongxing Group. This is... Today he didn't go to the weaving factory because he went to the tea house. Second Master Jis gaze was also rather complex. The one who ordered the custom-made cloud brocade phoenix robe was a member of the Jiang family. The one I spoke with today was the Jiang family butler, and this phoenix robe. It's made for Wangxin's granddaughter. What? The eldest sister-in-law stood up in shock, almost knocking over the teacup near her. Second Master Ji nodded towards her. The eldest sister-in-law took a while to react, sitting dazedly in the chair. Only after she recovered did Second Master Ji ask about other things, mainly about Bai Lian's last words. What's the deal between the third brother and her? Even though Third Master Ji was not concerned about Xiaoqi's school registration, Bai Lian did not know about this either. Hearing Second Master Ji's question, the eldest sister-in-law's gaze shifted towards the door. It must have been the gift. He threw Xiaoming's gift into the trash can, and that day, it was seen by Wang Xin's granddaughter. It didn't take many days for the news about Second Master Ji's collaboration with the Jiang family butler and obtaining the Zhongxing Group's agreement to reach Third Master Ji. How could this be? Third Master Ji overturned the tea table, throwing a fit in his living quarters. But he couldn't find out any additional details. Chapter 916. Extra Story 361-6. Not an ordinary person, Boss Mao Xiaoqi under 3. The focus of the Ji family and the weaving factory had already shifted towards Ji's third grandfather. Even Ji Lang had been scolded mercilessly by him. Grandfather, Ji Lang pursed his lips, waiting for his grandfather's rage to subside before he spoke. Tonight, the Xiqing Chamber of Commerce is hosting a dinner for the people from the Xiankong Chamber of Commerce headquarters. Will you be attending? The Xiqing Chamber of Commerce used to be led by the weaving factory. Now, the president had changed to the wealthiest man in Xiqing. Upon hearing this, Ji's third grandfather slightly subdued his anger and had Ji Lang prepare to accompany him in the evening. The evening banquet of the Xiqing Chamber of Commerce was held in the Grand Auditorium, with many celebrities gathered and several municipal leaders also present. The banquet started at 7, but Ji's third grandfather arrived early, not even 6 o'clock yet. He networked with various significant business owners at the venue, exchanging business cards. Ji Lang and his fiancée both followed behind Ji's third grandfather. As it neared 7 o'clock, a stir went through the main entrance, marking the president of the Xiqing Chamber of Commerce's arrival. The crowd surged towards the entrance. Ji's third grandfather and Ji Lang exchanged glances, picking up their wine glasses and following the crowd toward the entrance. The two finally squeezed in and saw the chamber's president, who was accompanied by a young man in a suit. Judging by his somewhat tender face, he seemed to be no older than 20. President. Ji's third grandfather finally found an opportunity and, holding up his wine glass, toasted the president and the young man. I am from the weaving factory, and this is my grandson Ji Lang. The president of the Xiqing Chamber of Commerce nodded. He seemed to have met Ji Lang before. Young Ji is promising. And this is Director Mao from the Xiankong headquarters, managing director. Just like young Ji, both with great prospects. Ji's third grandfather had been waiting for just that moment and hurriedly raised his wine glass. Director Mao, hello. Mao Xiaoqi held his wine glass and slightly raised it toward Ji's third grandfather. Ji's third grandfather only managed to exchange a few words with Mao Xiaoqi, and didn't even have the chance to introduce himself before being pushed aside by other corporate bosses. The Ji family honestly didn't count for much in this circle. But fortunately, Ji's third grandfather managed to get Director Mao's business card. Standing in a corner, he spoke to Ji Lang nearby. Once the crowd thins, go and introduce yourselves. Then he asked, did my second brother not come? Second grandfather is at the weaving factory, he's coming late, Ji Lang replied. Ji's third grandfather nodded and said no more, instead introducing Ji Lang to other people at the chamber again. Second grandfather of Ji arrived hurriedly at 7:30. Ji's third grandfather spotted him from afar but did not greet him. Nearby, Ji Lang's fiancée recognized Ji's third grandfather and asked in a low voice, shall we invite them over? Second grandfather Ji had always been immersed in studying embroidery techniques and knew few people. His presence today was due to his rising position in the weaving factory, which brought him along. Not as well connected as Ji's third grandfather. With a champagne glass in hand, Ji's third grandfather remained silent, but upon seeing the president and Director Mao, he quickly approached with a smile. I've long heard of the great reputation of Xiankong. Meeting Director Mao today, truly, a hero is younger than he seems. He raised his glass, exchanging pleasantries with the president and Director Mao. Mao Xiaoqi politely smiled, having heard too many similar remarks tonight. He politely raised his glass to Ji's third grandfather, then looking up, his eyes met with those of second grandfather Ji. Second grandfather Ji, along with the director of the weaving factory, was discussing matters about the Xiankong headquarters and was caught off guard by Mao Zioqi's gaze. He then approached with his wine glass. Somewhat puzzled, Mao Xiaoqi. Everyone at the venue who had received Mao Zioqi's business card knew his name, Mao Xiaoqi. Hearing second grandfather Ji directly call Director Mao by his name, Jis third grandfather's expression subtly changed, thinking it bold to address Director Mao by his name, considering his societal status was higher than that of the Ji family despite his younger age. When second grandfather Ji approached, Jis third grandfather pulled him by the sleeve and quietly warned, "That's Director Mao." As he spoke, he looked up and with a smile, explained to Mao Xiaoqi and the president, "Director Mao, my second brother was calling for my grandson Xiaoming, who is conveniently the seventh in our family." Yet, just as he finished speaking, Mao Xiaoqi looked at second grandfather Ji and politely called out, "Second grandfather." Chapter 917, 362 Number 7. The scariest one. The surroundings were quite peaceful. Ever since Xiaoqi arrived in Xiqing, there weren't many who could genuinely connect with him. Even the people from the Xiqing Business Association tried their best to bring Xiankong into the Xiqing Business Association. Tonight's grand display at the association was solely for Xiankong. Yet despite the entire Xiqing Business Association being mobilized, Xiaoqi barely revealed any of his thoughts and didn't seem close to anyone. Now that they saw him calling someone second grandpa, people around were secretly having others inquire about second grandpa Jis news. Second grandpa Ji was also surprised. He had recognized that the man beside Xiaoqi was the president of the Xiqing Business Association, and everyone around was revolving around Xiaoqi, associating this with the banquet held today in honor of the general manager from the Xiankong headquarters. Throughout the banquet, aside from Xiaoqi, second grandpa Ji was also someone whose acquaintances sought to become familiar with. Some had even found their way to third grandpa Ji to inquire about the exact relationship between Xiaoqi and second grandpa Ji. Another group, holding their wine glasses, chatted up third grandpa Ji, all because of Xiaoqi and second grandpa Ji. With a rigid smile on his face, third grandpa Ji saw this group off. By his side, Ji Lang looked towards the center, where second grandpa Ji was surrounded by influential individuals of the Xiqing circle, and opened his mouth. "Second grandpa is..." Third grandpa Ji pursed his lips and shook his head. He knew nothing. He just felt that everything changed after second grandpa Ji returned from a trip to Xiangqing. The orders from the weaving factory were reassigned, and now even General Mao from Xiankong was acquainted with him? How did second grandpa Ji find such connections out of the blue? After the reception ended, Xiaoqi left first, and the president personally saw second grandpa Ji out. It was then that third grandpa Ji found an opportunity to speak with second grandpa Ji and asked about Xiaoqi. In fact, second grandpa Ji himself had not fully recovered from his astonishment. Hearing the query, he tilted his head and looked at third grandpa Ji. "You're asking about Xiaoqi?" Third grandpa Ji and Ji Lang, among others, all halted and held their breath, waiting for his response. "You know him," second grandpa Ji looked at him. "He is Wangxin's grandson." "What did you say?" Third grandpa Ji was stunned upon hearing that. Ji Wangxin's grandson? Wasn't it said by the eldest grandmother that he hadn't even finished middle school? And they had even been arranging Ji Lang to sort out his school registration? How did he suddenly become the general manager of Xiankong headquarters? In fact, not just third grandpa Ji. Even second grandpa Ji himself could hardly believe it. During their last encounter, he had guessed that Bai Lian and Zioqi's identities were no simple matter, given Bai Lian cared about the butler of the Zhongxing group. And the Pei family was so polite to Xiaoqi. Yet, even with all the guessing, second grandpa Ji had never imagined that Xiaoqi was in fact the general manager of Xiankong headquarters. Second grandpa Ji departed. Ji Lang, third grandpa Ji, and others were still standing in the original spot. A chill wind blew through. Third grandpa Ji shivered and turned back to look at Ji Lang. "How is your school registration going?" The Xiqing Sea Water Purification Project. Most of the research staff had already been assembled. Ning Xiao, with his computer in tow, attended the meeting, bringing Pei Qin and Wang Su along. Pei and Wang were merely ordinary sophomores at Jianghu University, lacking the extraordinary capabilities of Ning Xiao and Bai Lian. They could barely keep up with the pace. During their time at the base, the two of them barely slept 3 hours a day. At the start of the semester, the project had already officially begun research, and Bai Lian and Ning Xiao were all set to return to school. Back at Jianghu, both the laboratory and the Tongfeng class had a bunch of things waiting for them. When they came to Xiqing, It was only a few people like Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai. But when they returned to Jiangjing, the group had grown significantly. Second Grandpa Ji had successfully negotiated the project and formally entered the circle of the Xiqing Business Association. This year, the Xiqing Business Association was sending him to negotiate with the Jiangjing Business Association. The eldest grandmother saw him off, and they had not contacted Bai Lian since. However, he had spoken with Xiaoqi a few times. "What do you think?" Second Grandpa Ji asked the eldest grandmother as he waited for the car, tilting his head. "Who exactly are Wangxin's family members? Especially his grandson. That's Shenkong, after all." One Bai Lian had gotten into Jiangjing University and knew the Jiang family butler. One Xiaoqi, not yet 20 years old, a corporate giant of Shenkong. He had some real talent. This Xiaoqi was even more terrifying than Bai Lian. The eldest grandmother didn't know either. This time when second Grandpa Ji went to Jiangjing, he took his grandson Ji Yun with him. Before boarding the plane, he also called Ji Hang to let him know he was heading to Jiangjing and that he had brought specialties and gifts from Xiqing for Bai Lian and the rest. Jiangjing. The Jiang family's plane touched down at Jiangjing Airport, where a small section was reserved for private planes, and Jiangjing had plenty who could afford their own aircraft. Chapter 918, 362 Number 7. The scariest one under two, however, only the Jiang family had set aside a separate area, parking 3 airplanes. Jiang Fulai slowly landed behind Bai Lian, holding a cell phone, answering Gao Shu's call leisurely, yet his gaze fell ahead. Ahead, Bai Lian's left hand held a document behind her back as she turned her head to explain the topic to Wang Su and Pei Qin, the black of her eyes reflecting the airport scenery. In Jiangjing, it was still winter, and the airport was windy. She was wearing only a white knitted sweater. She did not feel cold. Jiang Fulai watched her silhouette, leisurely pulling up his black scarf to cover his cold, hard jawline. "The butler has already made the wedding dress," Gao Shu urged Jiang Fulai over the phone. "When are you planning to get married?" Jiang Fulai's icy fingertips touched the phone, his usual cold expression in his eyes, but his voice was gentle. "What's the rush? She's just in her sophomore year." Such a craftsmanship on the phoenix robe would also take a year of manual work. Gao Shu had already started working, having just finished a meeting at the theater. "Am I the only one in a hurry?" Jiang Fulai paused briefly and hummed an affirmation. Gao Shu didn't expose him, only raising an eyebrow. "Okay, are you coming back today?" This new year, she hadn't seen Bai Lian yet. Now that they were coming back, Gao Shu was ready to go to the Shanghai apartment with some items. Ahead, Bai Lian was still discussing the topic with the two. "It's AN, is the N-torsion subgroup of the Able group A. What you get is a long exact sequence, naturally leading to an injection." She spoke methodically, detailing each step meticulously, unlike Jiang Fulai, who found it too simple and would typically skip over. Nor would she spare them a disdainful "ha." Tang Ming and Ning Xiao's improvement in grades had much to do with her. Having finished, she also gave them time to reflect. Meanwhile, she called Ji Hung to tell him that she had safely arrived in Jiangjing. Ji Hung still had to stay in Xianxia for a while, not coming back just yet. Upon receiving Bai Lian's call, he was at Purist Street, worshipping the tree god with a group of tourists, praying while telling Bai Lian that Ji granduncle had also arrived in Jiangjing and had brought her clothes. "The clothes the great lady made for you," Ji Hang, following the crowd, finished worshipping the tree god and then slowly told Bai Lian. "When I went back to Xiqing, she had already asked for your measurements to make them. She finished making it yesterday. Great lattice craftsmanship is superb. She even taught your grandmother. I'll have it sent directly to the Shanghai apartment." Bai Lian had already seen the car sent by the Research Institute. "Okay, I'll make a trip to the Research Institute first. I'll return by 5. The driver was the previous driver of Academician Ma, and the co-driver was a previously plain-clothed security officer. Jiang Fulai was picked up by a car from the Jiang family. He hadn't gone home all year and was now rushing back for the Jiang family's annual meeting. Wang Su and Pei Qin, not daring to join Jiang Fulai, got into the car that came for Bai Lian. After 3 in the afternoon, Ji granduncle arrived in Jiangjing with Ji Yun. The two were received by members of the Jiangjing Chamber of Commerce and stayed at the Yunshao building. It was not a busy time, and Chang'an district was not far away. Seeing the address Ji Hung had sent, they headed to Shanghai apartment. When they reached near Shanghai apartment, they realized it was close to Jiang University. Both had been to Jiangjing before, Ji Yun having visited for tourism several times, even entering Jianghu University. Now, standing in front of its understated and rhythmic gate, he looked up at the words, Jianghu University, and couldn't help but feel ambition surge again. Remembering Ji Hang, Ji Yun exclaimed to Ji Granduncle, "I didn't expect, the matriarch's granddaughter is studying here." This was Jianghu University, after all, where only a handful from Xiqing got admitted each year. Ji Yun had yet to meet this granddaughter of the matriarch and was very curious about what she looked like. With the school term at Jianghu University in session, there were many people at the entrance. Ji Granduncle wanted to look inside Jianghu University, as it was a place where Wanqin had once been, but Ji Yun hadn't managed to get the QR code to enter, only securing one for 3 days later. "Let's come back in a couple of days," Ji Yun put away his phone, holding the bag in his hand, and said to him, "It's almost time. Let's head to Shanghai apartment first." Ji Yun was eager. It turned out their relative could actually get into Jianghu University. His curiosity about Ji Heng's granddaughter reached its peak. They arrived at the gate of Shanghai apartment soon. This road was rather quiet, and upon seeing the gate of Shanghai apartment, Ji Granduncle walked towards it. "Didn't the matriarch say to call our cousin in advance? Also, aren't there too few people here?" Ji Yun followed Ji Granduncle, puzzled by the sparseness of people on the road and the sparse crowd at the gate of Shanghai apartment. The location occupied by Shanghai apartment was unexpectedly uncrowded. "It's just a few steps away. We can walk there." Grandpa Ji had not intended for Bai Lian to come and pick them up. The two of them arrived at the entrance of Shanghai apartment. Before they could state their purpose, they saw plainclothes guards standing on both sides of the gate. With bulging pockets, Ji Yun immediately spotted the exposed gun handle and quickly pulled his grandfather back a step. "Grandpa, I think we better make a phone call." He saw it, and naturally, Grandpa Ji saw it too. What kind of setup is this complex? Even the security guards at the gate are armed? Not really. The two grandsons exchanged glances, and Grandpa Ji immediately took out his cell phone to call Ji Hang, telling him that they had reached the entrance of the complex. It wasn't long before a middle-aged man came out from the complex to meet Grandpa Ji and Ji Yun. "Are you relatives of Bai Lian?" Grandpa Ji, looking at the other's shiny bald head, quickly responded, "Yes." Bai Lian Sr., surnamed Huang, Dean Huang led Grandpa Ji and Ji Yun inside, smiling warmly. "She's still busy, let me first take you to 103. Grandpa Ji and Ji Yun looked at Dean Huang in surprise. Such a big age difference, and he's Bai Lian Sr.? The two followed Dean Huang into the complex. Grandpa Ji and Dean Huang struck up a conversation. Since Dean Huang claimed to be Bai Lian Sr. and was easygoing, he appeared less formal. They chatted about Bai Lian. Until they turned a corner, a young man walking his dog saw Dean Huang and hurried to greet him excitedly. "Dean Huang, hello, I'm from the Institute of Nuclear Power, and you and Academician, you are my idols." Dean Huang nodded at him amiably. The dog walker eagerly looked behind Dean Huang. "Where's God Jian?" "Bai Jian is the faith of the younger generation." Dean Huang. "What happened to me being your idol?" "The little junior sister is still busy." But Dean Huang also understood these young people's mindset. As an era they witnessed firsthand, becoming fans of Bai Lian wasn't surprising at all. After parting with the young man, Dean Huang took Grandpa Ji and Ji Yun to 103. Then he leisurely returned to the adjacent building to tidy up his newly moved belongings. The hall of 103. Grandpa Ji escorted Dean Huang out and waited for him to walk away before returning to the hall. "Another dean? What kind of dean exactly?" And the academician, previously mentioned in the conversation, that little junior sister in Dean Huang's mouth must be Bai Lian, right? How come Bai Lian doesn't seem like an ordinary college student? 450. Outside Shanghai apartment. Xianxia and Yen Lu had also arrived today. Yen Lu, wearing a black mask and fisherman's hat, got out of the car in a black coat. Her tall figure was accentuated by the black coat, making her look very stylish. Sister Xian got out of the passenger seat, looked ahead at Xianxia with his hands in his pockets, then whispered to Yen Lu about her recent variety show ventures. Yen Lu hadn't taken any variety shows since Perfect Day. "The investors asked me to ask you," Sister Xian said, pausing, "if you could please bring your composing maestro on board?" A Huang, trailing behind, removed Yen Lu's scarf. Hearing this, he quickly stared intently at Yen Lu. Bringing him out would probably blow up the entertainment industry, right? Of course, if Sister Xian knew what A Huang was thinking, she would have told him, it's not just the entertainment industry that would explode. Chapter 919, 363 Extra 8. The Emperor of Vines Yen Lu pressed her hat down without speaking, just gazing at Xianxia. Xianxia shrugged. Director Su asked me to inquire. Director Su had worked with Yen Lu before she became popular, so they shared some rapport, which is why they could invite the now famous Yen Lu for this variety show. I'll talk to Director Su later, Yen Lu said as she took the scarf handed to her by A Huang. After the security in the residential complex was changed, not many cars could enter. So Yen Lu's nanny car had to be parked outside temporarily these past few times. Okay, Xianxia escorted Yen Lu into the complex, and before entering, she carefully reminded, be careful not to be photographed when you go out with Xiao Zhang and the others. The security recognized Zhang Xiais and Yen Lu and opened the access gate for them. A Huang stood next to Xianxia as the iron gate closed again. He was startled to see Yen Lu removing her fisherman's hat and mask. Xianxia, isn't it risky for Lu to just walk in like that? What could possibly happen in this complex? Xianxia yawned and slowly returned to the car. Anyone you randomly meet inside could outshine Yen Lu. 103. Zhang Xiais and Yen Lu entered first, moving the flowers kept by Jianghu. By 7 o'clock during the New Year's, the flowers were all tended to by Su Nanjing. The two walked right in, causing Ji Yun and Grandpa Ji to sit uneasily upon hearing the password being entered. They quickly stood up and cautiously looked toward the door. The entrants were not Bai Lian, but a man and a woman. The man at the front wore a shell jacket zipped all the way up, exposing only his tall nose and a pair of starry eyes. The woman had no makeup on, yet her face was striking even in its bare state. Ji Yun froze. Yen Lu. Ji Yun and Grandpa Ji both recognized her as the currently highly popular Yen Lu. However, Grandpa Ji had already known back in Xianxia that Bai Lian knew Yen Lu. Grandpa Ji, hello, I am Bai Lian's classmate, Zhang Xiais. Zhang Xiais had already heard from Bai Lian about the Ji family's visit and wasn't surprised, introducing himself to Grandpa Ji. Meanwhile, he took off his coat and opened the door to the courtyard to water the plants. Since Ji Hang and others hadn't been back for a while, the plants had been looked after by Su Nanjing. Yen Lu adeptly went to the kitchen, boiled a pot of hot water, and made tea for the two of them. Ji Yun sat nervously on the sofa, holding the tea Yen Lu had poured for him, lost in a daze. 5 o'clock. Bai Lian, along with Pei Qin and Wang Su, led a few people to Building 5. They didn't immediately go to 103 but first took them to 303 to let them sit in the hall and study some data before heading down to 103. In 103, Ji Yun sat upright on the sofa as Zhang Xiais brought out some fruits and seeds he had brought back, hosting them. Sister Lian will be back soon. Thank you, Ji Yun said cautiously. The two exchanged words. The door to 103 made a noise again. Zhang Xiais and Yen Lu both rose and walked toward the door. It should be Sister Lian returning. Sister Lian? Was it the grandaunt's granddaughter Grandpa always talked about? Ji Yun instinctively stood up and took a couple of steps forward, quietly looking on. The one entering through the door was a girl dressed in a pure white linen dress, slightly long, with a slender green willow leaf embroidered only around the neckline. Her black hair held up at the back by a plain wooden hairpin. She held a cell phone in her hand. Looking up, she revealed a stunningly clear face. Upon seeing Ji Yun, she nodded slightly. Hello. Ji Yun took a moment before responding. Hello, I'm Ji Yun. Bai Lian calmly closed the door to 103, talking with Grandpa Ji, who then brought out the clothes made for Bai Lian by the great-grandmother during this period. The materials were all treasured collections of the great-grandmother, fit to be family heirlooms. All were cloud brocade. As she talked with Grandpa Ji, Ji Yun kept glancing at Yen Lu. Yen Lu, aware that this was Bai Lian's relative, was also very friendly to him, proactively asking if he needed anything. When he learned Ji Yun wanted an autographed picture, Yen Lu quietly asked Zhang Xiais if they still had any photos of her on hand, then immediately explained, My girlfriend is your fan. Sister Lian has some, Zhang Xiais recalled. Xiaohan collected a bunch. The two informed Bai Lian and took Ji Yun upstairs to get the photo. 303, Wang Su and Pei Qin were still discussing data at the round table. Seeing someone coming back, both of them couldn't help but stand up. Wang Su and the others were quite familiar with Tang Ming and Ning Xiao, but they had only met Zhang Xiais twice, though they recognized him, and they greeted each other amicably. Ji Yun was startled when he saw Wang Su and Pei Qin. Young Master Wang, young Master Pei. Unexpectedly, there were still people at Bai Lian's place who called themselves Young Master Wang, young Master Pei. Wang Su and Pei Qin both looked at Ji Yun. Their memories were good, and they remembered seeing Ji Yun at their office. But they didn't know Ji Yun's name. The social butterfly Wang Su quickly asked warmly about Ji Yun's news. Young Master Wang, I am Ji Yun from the Ji family of Xiqing. Ji Yun quickly introduced himself. I'm a friend of Yang Kai, and this time I came with my second grandfather. He introduced himself, and said his second grandfather was here to see Bai Lian. Hearing the latter part, Wang Su realized that this was a relative of Bai Lian's. His brow twitched, and he quickly embraced Ji Yun's shoulders. We're all brothers. Calling me young Master Wang is too distant. Ji bro, from now on just call me and brother Pei by our names. Pei Qin slowly stood up from his seat, always taciturn. Right? In just a brief encounter, they were already addressing each other as brothers with the airs of two major families of Xiqing. Ji Yun sat in a chair, holding an autographed photo given to him by Yen Lu. He knew that Wang Su and Pei Qin's suddenly amiable attitude toward him was entirely because of Bai Lian. At night, Bai Lian saw Ji Yun and his second grandfather out of the apartment complex. Wang Su and Pei Qin also came down to see them off with her, and added Ji Yun on WeChat as well. Bai Lian stood by the steps, dressed in white thread clothes and black pants, listening to the second grandfather say they were en route today, originally wanting to visit Jianghu University, but they hadn't made a reservation. Couldn't make a reservation? Bai Lian turned sideways. Return to school period, banning entry from non-school members, Ji Yun explained to Bai Lian. Bai Lian nodded slightly, her gaze landing on an elderly person throwing away trash in the neighboring building. Happy New Year, Principal Sure. Shiyu leisurely threw the black trash bag into the bin. Seeing Bai Lian addressing him, he walked over in 2 steps. When did you come back? Just returned this afternoon. Bai Lian mentioned a few words with Shiyu, then remembered the second grandfather. Is the school no longer open for visits? Shiyu saw the second grandfather and Ji Yun, and guessed something. For the student safety, visits are temporarily closed, but if your relatives want to go in, just mention my name. After he finished throwing out the trash, he didn't leave but inquired about Bai Lian's recent project instead. The second grandfather and Ji Yun didn't interrupt and left the entrance of Shanghai apartment first. Only after they got out of Shanghai apartment and headed toward Jianghu University, did Ji Yun ask his grandfather, Grandpa, did you ask Uncle about who exactly this cousin of mine is? I don't know. The second grandfather shook his head. The two walked to Jianghu University. The security guard originally didn't let people in, but upon hearing the second grandfather and Ji Yun mention Shiyu's name, he opened the gate without any questions, letting the two in. The second grandfather and Ji Yun looked at each other. Once inside, they didn't immediately rush to Celebrity Square. Ji Yun curiously turned around to inquire about the identity of Shiyu from the security guard. The security guard pulled out 2 cigarettes from his pocket, handed them to the second grandfather and Ji Yun, and upon hearing their question was also surprised. That's our principal, sure you didn't know? Ji Yun and the second grandfather. After a moment of silence, they first approached Celebrity Square. Upon arrival, they saw the brightly lit Celebrity Square, Liang Zuan's bronze statue standing gently at the forefront, the square still crowded with people, and besides Liang Zuan's statue, the Wall of Fame also had many people gathered. Some were holding professional books, raising them above their heads, worshipping the fame, muttering words. Having been there once before, Ji Yun naturally knew Celebrity Square, where Liang Zuan and his disciples were the hottest figures. Today was really a surprise. He and the second grandfather prayed to Liang Zuan, then approached the fame. Knowing that this was the place of the most well-known alumni of Jianghu University in recent history, there weren't many people. He saw the crowd all standing to the left, reciting a name, and couldn't help looking over. He immediately saw the 2 names most recently engraved, Ning Xiao, Bai Lian. Combining everything he saw today, Ji Yun sharply turned around. Grandpa, what did Uncle say his granddaughter's name was? The second grandfather also stared blankly at the last name. Bai Lian. Her name is Bai Lian, Lian like in the Emperor's Vine. Chapter 920, Extra 364 Number 9. Big Boss Friend, The Mysterious Woman Yang Lin, Part 2. Jingjing Biotechnology Company, Limited. Yang Lin stood opposite the company, watching a bus drive away. She made a phone call. Xiaolin, I still have work unfinished, so I can't go have dinner with you today. Wish your friend a happy birthday. On the other end of the line, Yangshu apologized. Yang Lin's voice was calm. All right. She hung up the phone and opened Yangshu's WeChat on her cell phone. Yang Lin usually disliked messaging on WeChat and making phone calls. At 4 o'clock, she had asked him what time he would get off work. He did not reply, so she had called Yangshu. She put away her phone. In front of her, a fiery red sports car stopped, and the man driving took off his sunglasses and looked at her with raised eyebrows. Are you really here? Get in, Alien has asked me to pick you up. It was Su Nanjing. When Yang Lin heard it was about Bai Lian, she didn't bother with formalities and sat in the passenger seat. Su Nanjing waited for her to buckle up before slowly driving. He asked, Didn't you say your good friend was coming today too? He has to work overtime. Yang Lin replied succinctly, her hair fluttering in the breeze. Neither spoke after that. Su Nanjing didn't say much either, only changed through a few Guzheng tracks on the sound system. Yang Lin's phone lit up a few times. It was Alice from Jingjing Biotechnology's team. Yang Lin, be careful, I just saw Yangshu and Yao Xintian working overtime together. Yang Lin had already secured a place for postgraduate studies under Xia Zhuayu. Since last year, she had been having projects with Xia Zhuayu. This summer, Xia Zhuayu had completely forbidden her from part-time work and pushed her into Jingjing Biotechnology team as an intern to familiarize her with basic processes. Alice was also one of the team's interns. As for Yangshu, he was an accountant in the finance department. Yangshu was the son of a friend of Yang Lin's aunt. After graduating from Jianghu University of Finance and Economics, when Yang Lin returned to her grandmother's house, she grew closer to her aunt. Knowing she was studying in Jianghu, her aunt specially entrusted her to her friend's son, Yangshu, for care. Out of consideration for her grandparents' peace of mind, Yang Lin didn't reject this. But she wasn't particularly concerned about it. Yangshu was very caring towards her, but Yang Lin was always cold-hearted. Their relationship changed that night when, after a feverish shift, she fainted on the street and woke up on the bed in her rented room with Yangshu holding a cup of water beside her. She also tried to accept Yangshu. Today, on Bai Lian's birthday, she had wanted to bring Yangshu along to introduce him to Bai Lian and her friends. But it seemed she had thought too much about it. Given the rare opportunity to be close to Yao Xintian, Yangshu probably wouldn't pass up the chance. Yao Xintian, a new intern during the summer, different from Yang Lin and Alice, came in a Porsche, and there were rumors in the intern group about her family being wealthy tycoons. The fiery red sports car suddenly sped up. Ahead was a curve. Su Nanjing shifted the car's weight to the left tire, and even as they nearly crashed into the guardrail, he didn't slow down. Yang Lin couldn't help but close her eyes, gripping her seatbelt tightly as the centrifugal force pulled at her. Her heart had never beat so fast. The entire process took a minute before the car calmly came to a stop. Su Nanjing rested his hand on the steering wheel, his lips slowly moving as he raised his eyebrows at her. Exciting, right? Alien really wants to learn this move from me. Yang Lin opened her eyes, her brain still tingling with excitement, her brows and eyes unusually relaxed. However, as she was always restrained, she said nothing. Sieging Club. When Yang Lin arrived, the entire club was closed today, serving only their group of people. It was still on the top floor. As soon as Su Nanjing entered, he greeted Zhang Fulai and others. Bai Lian was busy posing for photos with Pu Xiaohan, while Zhang Xiais was still earnestly reviewing a case. He was almost a junior. Qi Yundai took up some small cases for him during the summer break to give him some practice. A financial case? Tang Ming brought a glass of wine for Zhang Xiais, looking at the complicated cases he was reviewing, and expressed deep respect. Zhang Xiais looked up, took the wine from Tang Ming, and slowly crossed his legs. After taking a sip of wine, he suddenly chuckled. What's up? Tang Ming scratched his head. Is my look weird? Not really. Zhang Xiais put down his wine glass and under the box room's lighting, showed Tang Ming the case in his hand. It's just, when I think that someone like me is actually a lawyer going to court tomorrow, and these big bosses actually trust me a lot, it makes me want to laugh. Zhang Xiais couldn't even imagine himself sitting at the defense table, looking all prim and proper. Tang Ming deeply agreed, thinking how I just published another paper in Nature the day before yesterday, and President Huang wants to focus on developing my project, I want to laugh too. Next to them, Chen Beixian was speechless. She totally couldn't continue working. On the right, Pu Xiaohan saw Yang Lin and quickly waved. Yang Lin, come over here and take a photo with Alien, you'll be the material for my next video. Pu Xiaohan was shooting a series of videos titled, What My High School Classmates Are Up to Now. Yang Lin walked over to take the photo. Today, Bai Lian wore a diagonally buttoned blouse with light-colored bamboo leaves embroidered on it, revealing a slender section of her arm. Taking photos with Yang Lin, and following Pu Xiaohan's words, she lazily struck a pose and asked, Where's your friend? Yang Lin was supposed to bring a friend, and Bai Lian knew about it. She was very concerned about Yang Lin's situation and was happy to hear she had made a friend. Something came up. Yang Lin looked up casually as Pu Xiaohan removed her glasses. As soon as the glasses were removed, those dark, beautiful eyes were revealed. Bai Lian crossed her arms and glanced at her thoughtfully. After taking the photo, Pu Xiaohan, holding the camera, said to Yang Lin, Yan Lu reserved VIP seats for us all. Alien is busy going to Xiqing and can't make it. Yang Lin, will you join me instead? Sure. Yan Lu is now mainly in movies and TV dramas, and reluctantly organized 2 concerts this year due to strong fan demand. There was 1 concert in each of the 4 major cities and in Jianghu. As soon as the news hit, it crashed the internet. Yong-shu didn't go to Bai Lian's birthday party. Afterwards, Yang Lin never brought it up again, and both maintained a mutual understanding, not contacting each other since Bai Lian's birthday. Yong-shu had changed his WeChat profile picture too. The original picture was of lily flowers, Yang Lin's favorite. Knowing this, he had planted a pot in his company dormitory and sent her pictures every day. Now, it had changed to a cute and sprightly short-tailed cat. Yao Xintian liked cats, and had brought her cat to work before, but she stopped after the manager intervened. During lunch, Alice, clattering her food tray, indignantly told Yang Lin, Men are just assholes. Yang Lin silently handed her the chicken drumstick from her bowl, her voice calm and detached as usual. Eat the drumstick. Alice took a big bite of the drumstick and mumbled, Yang Lin, why don't you ever cuss a bit? Finishing her last bite of rice, Yang Lin simply commented, It's human nature. Alice, looking worried, said, This is why people take advantage of you. Anyway, did you know our list for permanent positions is coming out this weekend? Both of them were still interns. Is that so? Yang Lin was surprised. How come you're never concerned about anything? Alice poked at her food, looking at Yang Lin across the table. Sometimes, I really think you're a mysterious woman. After finishing their meal, they returned to their office desks. Just as they got off the elevator, they saw 2 people coming out of the neighboring elevator. It was Yao Xintian and Yong-shu. Yao Xintian was holding a Porsche key and 2 tickets. Standing beside her, Yong-shu looked handsome and tall. The financial university's heartthrob indeed had his charms. When she saw Yang Lin, Yao Xintian gave her a meaningful glance. Turning around, she handed the 2 concert tickets to Yong-shu. I heard your sister is a fan of Yan Lu. Here are the tickets for her concert in Jianghu's B zone. Take care of them. Chapter 921, 365 Side Story 10. All Grandmasters. Ticket for Zone A. Yan Lu wasn't a professional singer, but with 2 trump cards in her hand, her position in the Chinese music scene was in a league of its own. At the strong request of fans, Time Entertainment had also discussed this matter with Yan Lu several times. It wasn't until this year that Yan Lu relented and held 6 concerts, including 1 special concert in Xianxia. How popular was Yan Lu now? Put it this way, out of 10 people on the street, 9 were casual fans of Yan Lu, and the other one was a die-hard fan. Great Yong was also exceedingly popular overseas, having been translated into more than a dozen languages and broadcast internationally. Moreover, Yan Lu's sci-fi movie from last year was also screened abroad. For her concerts, it wasn't just the young people scrambling for tickets. The middle-aged and elderly fans were also a major force, yet the largest sports venue in Jianghu could only accommodate 100,000 people. With fans both domestically and internationally, there were only 100,000 tickets available. At this time, those who could get their hands on the tickets were no ordinary people, let alone those with tickets to B zone. Next to Yang Lin, Alice looked at the tickets in Yong-shu and Yao Xintian's hands with great surprise, as their office was basically full of Yan Lu fans. After the 2 left, Alice followed Yang Lin back to the office. With B zone tickets to Yan Lu's concert, Yong-shu has really snagged a rich woman. I'm so envious. Then remembering Yang Lin beside her, Alice quickly corrected herself, but it's just 2 tickets. Yang Lin walked to her seat and picked up her water bottle to go to the break room to get water. The break room. Xianxia stood by the water dispenser with 2 tickets in hand, dressed in a white shirt and black trousers, tall and trim with a very delicate profile. His popularity had always been high in the company. Yang Lin unscrewed the lid, standing beside him to get water. A pair of glossy black eyes hidden behind spectacle lenses made it impossible to discern her expression. She just stood there, silent and quiet, so quiet that one could easily overlook her presence at any time. Xianxia stood beside her, looking down at her with a complex gaze. Yongqi comes to Jianghu tonight, and I hope you won't say anything you shouldn't. They were going together to Yen Lu's concert the next weekend. Yongqi was Yongxia's sister, a high school student in Xianxia and a fan of Yang Lin and her friends, with whom she had a good relationship. Yang Lin turned off the water and looked back at Yongxia. She clearly understood what Yongxia meant. He still hoped she could maintain a good image in front of his family. Yongxia. Yang Lin's gaze was serene, those eyes through the glasses reflecting the window's reflection, excessively beautiful as she spoke softly. You're overthinking, we never had much of a relationship to begin with. Having said that, Yang Lin took her water bottle and left. She was always so aloof, as if she could remain composed regardless of the sky falling down. Yongxia watched her retreating figure, his fingers twitched slightly, and only when Yang Lin pulled open the break room door, he whispered an apology. Sorry. Yang Lin did not respond and simply walked away. The office. The news of Miss Yao donating Yen Lu concert tickets to Yongxia had already spread throughout the floor. Although the company didn't have an explicit policy, office romances were mostly frowned upon by most people, but these two seemed to have no intention of discretion. That afternoon, a department meeting was held. Yongxia reported on the recent financial issues. Manager Wang of the finance department, unusually, praised Yongxia. It was a situation that had never occurred before. Yongxia, imperturbable, responded graciously to the compliment. Everyone was wondering what kind of wealthy family Miss Yao belonged to. After the meeting, Yao Xintian waited in the company hallway with her car keys, talking and laughing with people from her internship team. I'm waiting to go pick up his sister with my senior. When Yongxia arrived, she linked her arm through his and they left together. Both were graduates of Jianghu University of Finance and Economics. Yongxia, a charismatic figure even during his school days, gentle and polite, pressed the elevator button and shielded the door for her, entering the elevator behind her. Co-workers who saw them were mostly envious, thinking he was extremely lucky. Only Alice knew that before this, Yongxia used to wait every day for Yang Lin to get off work together, and she bitterly said, "Unreliable, not at all reliable, he once brought you medicine at midnight, indeed, no man can be trusted." Yang Lin thought for a moment and then told Alice, "There are some who can be relied on." "Who? Are you talking about my god Mei Yi?" As they exited the elevator, Alice asked. "No," Yang Lin thought of Zhang Xi's and the others and smiled for once. "It's my friends." A colleague from the internship group beside her stared at Yang Lin, then hesitated before suggesting, "Yang Lin, you should smile more." Alice nodded in agreement. They arrived at the company's ground floor. Chapter 922, 365 Side Story 10. All Grandmasters, ticket for Zone A under Yao Xintian's Porsche pulled away, and the teams in turns all watched the car with the Jianghu license plate drive off. It wasn't their first time seeing Yao Xintian's car. Being able to intern at Jianghu Biotech right after graduating from university and driving such a nice car, it went without saying that her family was powerful. In Jianghu, that license plate number is probably worth almost as much as her car, someone remarked as the Porsche's tailpipe faded into the distance. "Which young miss is Ms. Yao the daughter of exactly?" "Heard she's the daughter of one of our company's shareholders." There were many speculations about Yao Xintian, and based on the attitude of the finance department towards Yongxia today, most people were convinced of Yao Xintian's identity. Yang Lin took out her bus card and headed diagonally across the street. Alice walked with her. Neither of them were from Jianghu. Today was Friday. Alice was heading back to her shared apartment, and Yang Lin was going back to Jianghu University. Back to the lab, and also Ji Hang had asked her to come over for dinner in the evening. On the way, Alice exclaimed, "Tickets for Yen Lu in B Zone. If the world had one more rich person like me, what difference would it make?" Yang Lin patted Alice on the shoulder, informing her that they had reached Jianghu University and that she needed to get off the bus first. Alice waved goodbye to her. Shanghai apartment. Yang Lin, wearing a long-sleeved traditional-style shirt and carrying a canvas bag, was on the phone with Xiaxia. Xiaxia was still at a conference abroad. Still very concerned about this air. How do you find the company? Overall it's okay, Yang Lin replied honestly, but I can't get used to the atmosphere. Xiaxia wasn't good at socializing either. You don't have to deal with interpersonal relations. I'll be back at the end of the month. Just get used to it, and send me your paper this week. I'll find time to revise it over the weekend. Thank you, Professor. Yang Lin walked into the residential complex. The security guards had already recognized her and opened the access gate as they saw her approaching. There were still a lot of people in apartment 103. Bai Lian's birthday had just passed, and most of the guests who came to Jianghu hadn't left yet. By the time Yang Lin arrived, Lance was playing chess. Their group never seemed to get tired of playing Go. Seeing Yang Lin, he quickly got up from the chessboard. Come here. Yang Lin saw Jianghu sitting opposite with a straight posture. How was she supposed to play? Bracing herself, she made a few moves in Jianghu's hands and quickly fell behind. Pu Xiaohan came in with a camera, spotted Jianghu, and immediately started teasing the youngster. Brother Bird, I'm going to tell Bai Lian you've been bullying her later. In the entire Shanghai apartment, besides Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai, probably only Yu Xinjing could beat Jianghu. Jianghu. He silently retracted a piece in his hand. Ji Hang and Mr. Chen were cooking in the kitchen, while Shen Qing was dedicated to washing fruits and making milk tea. Ming Dongheng drove back and saw Shen Qing skillfully pouring the tea leaves into a canister, now able to face it calmly. Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai came back from the research institute, speaking softly about matters concerning the institute. In her hand, Bai Lian held several tickets, lightly pressed in the palm. She was wearing a long t-shirt similar to Yang Lin's. Her long hair casually fell on her forehead, appearing relaxed and indolent. Jiang Fulai followed a step behind Bai Lian, leisurely keeping pace with her. Seeing her and Jiang Fulai, Pu Xiaohan was the first to rush over to Bai Lian, looping an arm around hers. Bai Lian! Bai Lian! Are these my tickets? Bai Lian handed a stack of tickets over to Pu Xiaohan. Yan Lu had left a bunch of tickets for Bai Lian and the others, including their own VIP seats and a few extras that their manager had arranged for their friends. Leave 2 for me, and the rest of you can divide them amongst yourselves, Bai Lian said, with her hands folded in front of her chest, leaning back against the table very relaxedly, turning her head to look at Shen Qing and Jiang Fulai, while Jiang Fulai was watching Shen Qing make milk tea. Jiang Fulai reached out to take the strainer, his eyelids lowered, fingers slightly curved, methodically filtering the brewed tea leaves. Then he added sugar. Shen Qing stood next to him, continuously praising him. Having filtered the milk tea, Jiang Fulai looked up nonchalantly at Bai Lian, arching an eyebrow. The milk tea was just about done, and Jiang Fulai poured a glass for Bai Lian and handed it to her. Bai Lian took a sip with her eyes downcast, her expression unchanged. It's good. Shen Qing was serving milk tea to others. They had all asked their manager in advance for a certain number of tickets, and Pu Xiaohan pulled out 4. Okay, here are 3 for my roommate, and 1 more for Bei Bei, who is coming next week. After taking out 4 tickets, she kissed each one of them affectionately. Yang Lin also got 2 tickets. She had prearranged them with the manager, and now she held the tickets, unsure what to do next, and simply slipped them into her pocket. Chapter 923, 365 Side Story 10. All Grandmasters. Ticket for Zone A under the 3. Shen Qing handed out the milk tea to each of them. Xiaohan Pu sat next to Yang Lin, and both of them took their milk tea and took a sip. Yang Lin showed no expression. Xiaohan Pu couldn't resist, lifted her head to look at the composed Yang Lin, then glanced at Jianghu, who also had a poker face, and dared not speak. Tang Ming and Ning Xiao had just arrived, coming straight from Dean Huang's office, their heads covered in sweat. The summit is on Monday. Ning Xiao wiped the sweat from his forehead and spoke to Bai Lian. Dean Huang wants you to represent and give a speech. This task, when handled by Bai Lian, always carried an air of commanding authority. Even Dean Huang couldn't match it. Bai Lian nodded. Okay, I'll prepare the speech later. Seeing the children so hot, Shen Qing handed them milk tea with ice cubes. Ning Xiao took a sip, then finished it expressionlessly. Tang Ming took a sip, grimaced, and said, Aunt, Did your hand shake today? You added so much sugar, it's a bit. From the side, Xiaohanpu said softly. Brother Jiang added the sugar. Jiang Fulai stood at the kitchen doorway, the bygone aristocrat still holding Tang Ming's unpublished paper, leisurely tilting his head and casting a cold glance at Tang Ming. It's kind of tasty. Tang Ming got startled and finished the milk tea in one gulp. Sunday. By the gate of Jiang University, Yong Shu was on call with Yao Xintian, staring at the Jiangjing University sign and the armed police lined up outside, feeling an indescribable yearning. The person on the phone said something, he responded, then hung up and turned to the girl beside him. There's a summit at Jiang University lately, Miss Yao can't get in either. After saying that, Yong Shu looked up at the banner outside Jiang University's gate. 7th Asian Physics Summit. The summit would last 7 days, with armed police stationed at the school entrance. Even Jiangjing's own students needed a special pass to enter during this period. During this time, Jiang University gathered the most outstanding minds in physics from the past decades. If anything were to happen to them, Asian physics would be set back by decades. Therefore, both Jiang University and Jiangjing placed high emphasis on security for this summit. It being summer vacation, control was strict inside and outside the campus. Not even a fly could get in without scrutiny. They ensured there were no lapses in security whatsoever. Yong Qi glanced at him, then took out her phone to call Yang Lin. I'll call Sister Yang. She's a student here, she definitely has a way. Yong Shu wanted to tell her not to contact Yang Lin so frequently, but knowing that Yong Qi was beyond his control, he shook his head. It's a summit, even she can't help, she can't even get in herself now. Yong Qi didn't look at him. Just made the call. Yang Lin asked her to wait at the gate for a while. 10 minutes later, Yong Shu was somewhat surprised to see Yang Lin coming out from inside Jiang University. Yong Qi excitedly looked at Yang Lin. Sister Yang! As Yang Lin approached, a gray pass hung around her neck and she held a plastic bag in her hand, handing it to Yong Qi. Milk tea. Yong Qi took it, discovering it was an unmarked milk tea, and was even happier. Thank you, sister. Toward Yong Qi, the young underclass woman from Xianxia, Yang Lin was always very patient, inquiring why she came to Jiang University. She wanted to check in at Celebrity Square and visit the physics department, Yong Shu explained from the side, but we knew we couldn't get in. Sister Yang, it's okay, I just called to see if you were around, wanting to see you. Yong Qi took a sip of the milk tea. It's just right, where did you buy it from, sister? Yang Lin tilted her head to look at Yong Qi, her expression unusually warm. Aunt made it, wait here for me a moment. She walked aside to make a call. Meanwhile, Yong Shu watched Yang Lin's retreating figure, greatly surprised. Setting aside where this aunt of Yang Lin's came from, how could Yang Lin still freely move in and out of Jiang University? 5 minutes later, a young man walked out from the campus. Seeing Yang Lin, he jogged over and handed her a temporary pass in his hand. Sister Yang, this is from Jianghu for you. Thank you, Yang Lin took it. Because of Bai Lian, these people were all very familiar with each other. Why are you being polite with me? Just try to avoid Mr. Lance and Dean Huang later, they are both looking for you. Wang Su raised his eyebrows, his hand casually in his pocket. Mr. Lance had heard from Dean Huang that Yang Lin was working on a growth serum for him, and he was very interested. Yang Lin had a headache. Wang Su smiled, saw Yong Shu and Yong Qi next to Yang Lin and waved to greet them. Hello, I'm Wang Su. If you need anything while visiting Jiangjing University, just contact me. I'll be around for the next few days. After saying that, he waved goodbye to Yang Lin. Wang Su was from a leading family in Xiqing, and the clothes he wore were all branded. Yong Shu looked at the watch on Wang Zu's wrist. He had heard from Yao Xintian before that it was a Patek Philippe brand. It was a collector's level watch, worth at least $1 million and up. Is he a classmate of Yang Lin? Also, does Yang Lin have an aunt? How come he had never heard Yang Lin's aunt mention it? Monday. Yang Lin went to Jingjiang Biotechnology Company. She was involved in the biotechnology project related to growth serums, and as an intern, she had always been diligent in following the entire project. Yang Lin, the project manager handed a document to Yang Lin, looking at her with admiration. There's an evaluation at the end of the month, you definitely have to stay, I believe in you. This summer internship, Yang Lin had always far surpassed others. She was distinguished in her capabilities. Yang Lin looked at the project manager. She hadn't told the project manager, she was just. In the afternoon, Some leaders came to inspect the 17th floor, and the project manager asked everyone to be very spirited to greet the leaders. The leading executive, in his 40s or 50s, dressed in a suit with a leather collar, was quite imposing. All the employees on this floor stood up to greet him, and the manager of the 17th floor followed this leader, always speaking to him in a low and respectful voice, calling him President Yao. Everyone on the 17th floor stood up to greet President Yao. In the next office, Yao Xintian came out from her workstation, and in the hallway, many people heard her call this President Yao Dad. In the small groups of various departments on the 17th floor, the news went viral. Without exception, they were all talking about finally seeing the living heiress. Alice looked at the messages in the group chat, exchanged glances with a few other interns next to her, and dared not speak. Until the end of the day, the people on the 17th floor were still discussing Yao Xintian's matter. In the elevator, colleagues on the same floor were gossiping. No wonder she could be so generous, directly giving away 2 concert tickets for B-Zone. Those are tickets for Yen Lu's first concert. Yang Lin was looking down at her cell phone. She looked very serious. Alice glanced and noticed Yang Lin reading something in English. She didn't understand what it was, only recognizing a few complex biological terms. The elevator doors opened, and Yang Lin walked out. Alice followed her to the bus stop, then she scratched her head. "Are you okay?" Yang Lin looked up, her eyes behind the glasses were extremely calm. She looked at Alice and said, "There is something." "Oh." Alice was startled. Yang Lin pulled out 2 tickets from her canvas bag and passed them over. Alice took them. She looked down and saw they were 2 Yen Lu tickets. Seats A15 and A16 in Zone A. Chapter 924. Extra Episode 366. The end. Yen Lu's concerts are rare occasions. This time, after it ends, no one knows when the next one will be, and it's not just the A-Zone tickets that are difficult to come by, even regular tickets are scarce. It's summertime, nearing 6 o'clock, and the sun hasn't fully set yet. Alice stares at the lingering sunlight, her gaze drifting down to the tickets in her hand. Yen Lu's concert tickets? A Zone 1's at that? Yeah. Yang Lin is reviewing Xiaxuya's suggestions for her paper. These 2 tickets were originally prepared for Yongqi and Alice, but now that Yongshu had received tickets from Yao Xintian, Yang Lin gave both to Alice. She's a loner by nature, with only a few friends. Besides Alice, if anyone else wanted Yen Lu's tickets, it would only take a word. The public bus arrives, and Yang Lin, carrying her canvas bag, gets on. Alice follows behind her, as if floating on a cloud of cotton onto the bus. Alice really wants to ask where Yang Lin got these tickets from, but with the bus so crowded at the end of the workday, she can't find the right opportunity to speak up. In the end, she just frantically messages Yang Lin on her phone. Evening. Alice posts a message to her social circle. Alice, this splendor has finally come my way. Image. The picture is of 2 Yen Lu A-Zone concert tickets. She didn't exclude anyone. In less than a minute, people in Project Team 2's group at the company started mentioning Alice. At Alice? Yen Lu's tickets? A Zone? At Alice, I'm calling you sis now. I bet you're missing a little sister to carry your bags. A Zone seats are sold to the public and closest to the stage, nearly half as many as B-Zone but priced at more than double. Before this, Yao Xintian had given Yongshu 2 B-Zone tickets for the whole company. Word about Alice's 2 tickets spread like wildfire across the company's various groups. At the moment, Yongshu is still working overtime, checking the reports the manager sent him one by one. Ever since CEO Yao's last visit to the company, Yongshu has been well regarded by the supervisors. Just as he finishes going through the reports, a message pops up on his WeChat. It's from his coworker, with a screenshot. Alice. It's the tickets that Yang Lin gave me. Coworker, Yang Lin gave Alice the Yen Lu A-Zone tickets. Coworker, even the young miss didn't get a Zone tickets, right? Seeing this message, Yongshu pauses. He checks the groups on his phone, and indeed, they are discussing Alice's 2 A-Zone tickets. Yongshu zooms in and confirms they are Yen Lu concert A-Zone tickets. But how could Yang Lin have them? He remembers Yao Xintian only had 1 B-Zone ticket herself. Yongshu spends the entire evening pondering over this issue with Yang Lin. The next day at the company, the topic of conversation among his co-workers is no longer about Miss Yao and Yongshu, but about Alice's A-Zone tickets. drawing curiosity from people in other departments who come over to see the tickets in Alice's hands. In the break room, a co-worker asks Xianxia, could it be that Yang Lin is also the daughter of some rich family? Not possible, Xianxia says with certainty as his cup nearly overflows. She isn't. No one knows Yang Lin's background better than him. The co-worker blinks, then nods. True, you and she are from the same hometown. Xianxia secures his cup and heads back to his desk composedly. End of August. The summer internships are drawing to a close, and the outcomes for each department are about to be announced. The entire biotech company is undergoing a major cleanup. In addition, security guards have been assigned to the entrance and various intersections. With her meal in hand, Alice talks to Yang Lin about the company's cleaning efforts. I heard a big shot is coming to the company this afternoon. Seeing how secretive they're being and how many security guards they've prepared. Is it the richest man in Jianghu who's visiting us? Yang Lin, never one for many words, quietly listens to Alice talk. The whole building is abuzz with speculation about the matter. After lunch, the announcement for the intern's official employment is released. Alice and Xianxia are both outstanding interns and are successfully hired. However, Alice doesn't pay much attention to her own official employment document, instead carefully studying the company's announcement. No way, how could you not be included? She checks again and again. There's no mention of Yang Lin's name. Shocked, she looks toward Yang Lin. Was there a mistake with the official document? I'll go talk to the manager. Don't, says Yang Lin, lifting her gaze from the paper and reaching out to stop Alice. Her tone is calm as always. It's okay, I wasn't planning on staying here anyway. Despite Yang Lin's slender frame, when she reaches out her hand, Alice feels as if immobilized by an iron chain, unable to move. Not planning on staying here? Alice stops. Is it because of those two? Yang Lin pats her arm unhurried. No, my coming here was never about the internship. Chapter 925. Extra Episode 366. The end_2 Alice was stopped by Yang Lin and failed to inquire at the manager's office. But as soon as the internship list was released, all these interns noticed the issue with Yang Lin. Yang Lin had indeed performed excellently at her workstation, and everyone recognized her merits, yet she had not appeared on the list for permanent employment, inevitably linking this issue to Xianxia. For a time, there was excessive sympathy for Yang Lin. Even Xianxia, unusually, sent Yang Lin a message on WeChat. Xianxia, you should intern at another company. Xianxia, I am thinking of your best interests. As Yang Lin looked at these two messages, her finger hovered over Xianxia's name, recalling their past meetings when he was young and full of ambition, and how he had been passed over for promotions twice in 2 years. Xianxia was also anxious. No one is content with mediocrity. Yang Lin calmly pressed the delete button. Afternoon. 2 rows of bodyguards were stationed at the company's main entrance, with the chairman, shareholders, and senior managers from various departments all standing on the first floor, waiting to receive someone. This scene set the company's internal chat groups abuzz. Some were constantly monitoring the activity on the first floor. Employees on the 17th floor gathered in groups, discussing animatedly as Alice, invigorated, stood next to Yang Lin, updating her with the latest developments. An eyewitness said, "It's a middle-aged man, but the chairman has banned taking photos." Yang Lin was still dealing with her work. On hearing this, she nodded slightly. 20 minutes later, colleagues from the corridor excitedly ran in. "Everyone get ready, he's here. The chairman is bringing him up to the 17th floor for inspection." A large group emerged from 2 elevators. All the 17th floor employees were gathered by their manager in the open rest area outside the corridor. Leading them was a middle-aged man who looked silent. Accompanying him were 2 plain-clothed individuals, not ordinary bodyguards as their waists bulged, possibly concealing guns. Escorting him was none other than their company chairman, and to the left, several shareholders. The other senior managers followed behind them, hardly able to contain their excitement. The 17th floor's employees stood together, falling silent and holding their breath as they spoke. Everyone guessed who this carefully guarded individual by the chairman and several major shareholders might be. Xianxia and Xianxia walked beside President Yao, who introduced them to the middle-aged man. "Dean Xia, this is my daughter Xianxia, who will be responsible for the growth serum selling project." The man nodded slightly in acknowledgement to Xianxia. The rest of the staff on the 17th floor observed Xianxia and Xianxia, having already guessed at Yao Xinqian's identity, so this introduction didn't come as a surprise. Xia Zhuoyu listened quietly as they described the project before speaking as he prepared to leave. This visit to the biotechnology sector mainly concerns the growth serum. The chairman quickly stopped, bowing. Dean Xia, please speak. The main person in charge of the growth serum project is not me, but my direct disciple, so she will be fully responsible for this matter. If there are any issues, feel free to contact me. Xia Zhuoyu's gaze scanned the crowd, settling on Yang Lin at the very back. Yang Lin, come and meet Director Lin. The movements in the crowd abruptly ceased. From top to bottom on the 17th floor, and even the chairman, all eyes pierced through several people, resting on the silent young woman. Yang Lin had faced countless grand events. Wasn't the audience under her speeches for top scholarships far greater than these people? She walked out of the crowd with composure, as the crowd naturally parted ways for her. Director Lin saw Yang Lin and hurried forward, extending both hands to shake hers. I have long heard about the exceptional protégé of Dean Xia, famous for quite some time, and today I finally get to meet you. Director Lin, hello, Yang Lin responded, returning the handshake. Director Lin smiled warmly at Yang Lin, repeating, calling me Director Lin is so formal, just call me Uncle Lin. Xia Zhuoyu, the pinnacle of biology in the country, his hand-picked students were not something just anyone could meet. So naturally, Director Lin seized the opportunity to get close to Yang Lin. Let's go. Xia Zhuoyu arrived mainly to pick up Yang Lin. An academician of life sciences is waiting for you. Yang Lin nodded, grabbed her canvas bag from her station, and left with Xia Zhuoyu. Everyone on the 17th floor was watching Yang Lin's departing figure. Xia Zhuoyu's 2 government-assigned bodyguards followed right behind them. People on the 17th floor had never seen such a spectacle. Only when the elevator doors closed did someone let out a long breath and ask Alice, who was close to Yang Lin, my God, Alice, was Yang Lin here on a secret visit? Can someone tell me who she really is? Alice was surrounded by a crowd of people, but truthfully, how could she know the depths of Yang Lin's background? Of course, there are no secrets in the company. Within less than 2 hours, someone dug up the glory of Xia Zhuoyu. They didn't even need to dig, his recent conference had already made news. As for his hand-picked student, was that even in question? A big shot in the biology world? Did Jianghu University build a whole building for him? Does our company survive on Dean Xia's management? Someone in the group inhaled sharply. Yang Lin is an honorary alumna of Jianghu University? Already has several SCI and Nature papers before she even finished her senior year. What kind of deity had we been working with for 2 months? Everyone was astounded. A future star in the field of biology, a nationally protected figure, compared to them, mere employees of a small company, the gap was immense. In her days, Alice realized why Yang Lin wasn't on the probation conversion list. However, Alice glanced out of the corner of her eye toward Yangshu in the break room, still getting water. His face wasn't visible, but the water cup was overfilling, the scalding water spilling over onto his hand, seemingly without him realizing. Alice looked away, shrugging. It is for the best these 2 parted ways, letting Yang Lin stand out on her own. Later, Yang Lin would occasionally visit the company to communicate with the project team. As for Yangshu's situation, she didn't ask again. Yangshu tried to reconnect with Yang Lin, but she did not respond. That afternoon, after Yang Lin visited the company, she went downstairs with Alice. Yangshu saw his chance to speak with her. But before he could get a word out, a fiery red sports car stopped at the entrance, with Su Nanjing tapping his fingers carelessly on the steering wheel. Everyone at the company's entrance was drawn to the eye-catching car. But more than the car itself, its ostentatious license plate featuring a string of 8s caught everyone's attention. Today is Grandpa's birthday. Alien asked me to pick you up, Su Nanjing said, removing his sunglasses and smiling politely. Yang Lin nodded and told Alice she was getting into the car. She sat in the passenger seat, serenely watching the passing scenery. Yangshu's situation didn't impact her much. It merely fueled her passion for scientific research even further.